You're listening to The Pete Sheppard Show on the Riptide Media Network.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing this morning? It is Hump Day, Wednesday, June 26, 2024. Good morning and welcome to another edition of The Pete Sheppard Show here on the Riptide Media Network. Huge show lined up for you today. Calagio at 8:30. Jake Maurice, the play-by-play voice of the Florida Everblades and also the son of head coach Paul Maurice. He will join us this morning. Lots of hockey news to talk about and get Jake's experience, I'm sure, with his dad the other night and the whole team when the Panthers won the Stanley Cup. And Bill Sparrows, senior betting analyst for bookies.com and the Boston Herald, will join me at 9:30. Thanks, everybody, for joining me here on the Riptide Media video network video platform. Following us on Twitter X at PShep326, my Facebook and Broad Street South Facebook pages, YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn, Twitch, Rumble, and, of course, Sports Radio 102.9. Executive producer Angel Martinez in the house is once again doing my show from the Isola della Cucina here on my beautiful kitchen island in Fort Myers. The phone number to call or text 727-858-6650. Lots to talk about today in all the sports. Unbelievable. The New York Knicks. No, the Villanova Knicks. Remember, they were the Villanova Knicks in the playoff series against the 76ers. I refer to them as Villanova. And now they're even more Villanova after a big deal last night for the New York Knicks. And I will give you Stephen A's take from 2016 and then his ridiculous over-the-top bullshit again. His reaction to the trade from last night. Stephen A didn't have a good day yesterday. He also had a horrible take on Dan Hurley not going to Los Angeles, which Molly called him out on. We'll play some of that. The Jacksonville City Council votes 14-1 last night, approves a $14.1 billion renovation of Everbank Stadium. We have that. Lots of baseball news to tell you about. Hunter Green, in case you don't know Hunter Green, he pukes a lot when he pitches. Twice in a row now. He has puked a lot on the mound in the first inning. And the Reds, actually went on to lose. We'll have highlights of that game as well. It was a bench-clearing brawl in the Padres game. Also, we'll get some sound from that. And then Texas A&M head baseball coach, Jim Schlossnagle, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen the video, but we're going to play it again for you today. How he berated a reporter for asking him a question about, because the rumors have been out there for a couple of weeks now about him leaving Texas A&M to go to Texas. Well, he berated the reporter, which we'll play for you, and then about 17 hours after he did that, he leaves for Texas. Which is why you never, ever believe any coach in any sport when they say that they're staying. But it really was a bad look for him after all his crap about sacrificing for his family and this, that, and the other thing, which I'm sure he did. But to chastise the reporter for asking the question and then leaving to go to the arch rival Texas, just really unbelievable. But we say good morning to Angel Martinez. Good morning, Angel. How are you, my friend?
Good morning, Pete. Hopefully everybody can hear me nice and clear this morning. A lot of hockey stuff that went on last night. Apparently, even with the Everblades, which everybody will find out as well. But not surprised by Stephen A. Smith. It's just the way that he is. It's in his nature, I guess.
Well, I want to start there for a second, and we also found out. I think Gas Pump Guy told me, but for the Everblades, just real quick. President Craig Brush, who's been on this program before. Florida Everblades President Craig Brush announced today that the team will not be renewing its affiliation agreement with the National Hockey League's Florida Panthers. We want to express our deepest gratitude to the Panthers and the American Hockey League's Charlotte Checkers for their support over the past 2 years. And to our fans, thank you for your support this season. Our unwavering commitment to putting a top-quality team on the ice will continue. Stay tuned for more updates as we prepare to unveil our new NHL, AHL affiliates in the coming weeks. So this is not uncommon in the ECHL. This happens a lot. This is maybe the third affiliation that the Florida Everblades have had. I know they had one with the Carolina Hurricanes before. They've had one now, I think, with Tampa Bay before that, and then with the Florida Panthers. So it's not uncommon that this happens. But anyway, we'll find out because Jake Maurice maybe have some inside information for us when he joins us later on this morning at 9:05. Gas Pump Guy says, "Good morning, fellas. Hope all is well." Yes, hope all is well. You can see, I'm wearing my famous "I am Groot" shirt. I am Groot. I like Baby Groot.
The movie that I'm dying to watch is coming out here. I know we're all adults here, but Despicable Me, the fourth one's coming out. I can't wait for that thing to come out.
Anything with Minions is funny, and I've still never seen any of them start to finish, to be honest with you. But I know that it's hysterical because there's a little bit of a sort of adult humor involved in all that stuff. And
you got it's a good time with that series. All
right, Angel, I hate to put you to work right away here, but I want to get this out of the way because we got a lot of and we've got the Hard Knocks video from the Giants that was released last night as well. Can you scroll down to Barstool Sports? And it's only an 8-second video, but I want everybody to see it and hear it. It's off my Twitter account.
Yep.
It's Stephen A's take, April 4th, 2016, when right before Villanova played North Carolina for the national championship. April 4th, 2016. And Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, and Dante DiVincenzo all played for that Villanova squad. But here's Stephen A's brilliant take, back then.
Villanova doesn't have a real NBA prospect on their squad.
Mm-mm. And again, that's 8 years ago. I don't know who's going, yep, you're just as dumb as he is. And what I can't stand about him and so many, these people speak in absolutes. It is ridiculous. So in case you missed it last night, the Brooklyn Nets completed a massive overhaul of the franchise roster. I'll give you Stephen A's reaction from that in a second. Talk about hypocrisy. They traded their best player, Mikal Bridges, to the Knicks. And they landed a deal with the Rockets to return the franchise's first-round picks lost in the James Harden trade. So now you have, as I said, you have all these Villanova players on the Knicks, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, and Dante DiVincenzo, four of them who Stephen A. and others back in 2016 didn't think Villanova had anybody. By the way, Villanova beat North Carolina. In case you missed that, Angel, if you want to scroll down, we can. I've got that video too. The last time, the game at the end in 2016. Where is it? If you scroll down, it's right under Barstool Sports. The last time Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, and Mikal Bridges were on the same team. We'll give you that video and that reaction video for you, flashback, and then thank you. That's it. Beautiful, Angel. There we go.
They go length to the court.
I can't see it. 3 seconds. I can't see it on my. I see you. I can't see it on my.
All right, no worries. If you can't see it, give it a second. If not, just do the magical powers of refresh, and you'll be able to see it.
All right, there we go. Now I see it.
See, so it's got to wait a couple seconds.
Yep.
All right, let me kick it back here. The instant rewind.
They go length to the court with Arcidiacono. 3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship. The national champions with Jenkins hitting the winner at the buzzer. Jim, they're going to check it. I thought it was good live, but how about those onions? A counter.
Okay, that's good. They reviewed it, but he got it off with 0.8 of a second to go. So obviously it was good. And Villanova, what a hell of a team. Jay Wright, great coach, and that was something. And you weren't in Philadelphia for that, right? Were you down here already? I forget. Back in 2016.
No, I was still back home.
Oh,
yeah.
That must have been a hell of an after party.
Oh yeah, because you figure it was that one, and then in the same year was the championship with the Arena League with the Philadelphia Soul.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Great season rolling into the 2017 Eagle season.
All right, now if I may ask you on the total sports prep cuts to go to cut number 2. Knicks will acquire Mikal Bridges from the Nets. Cut number 2. This is once again Stephen A's over the top reaction to that, and get ready. It just, it's kind of laughable.
Yes! Nah, I know that y'all are sitting out there and y'all saying it's Mikal Bridges. He's a good player, but it ain't like you got KD or somebody. Bump all that, okay? Chemistry matters. Reliability matters. Consistency matters. Defense matters. The brother can shoot. The brother can play. I'm sorry. I like this move by the New York Knicks. He's young. He's energetic. He's seasoned. He defends. And he fits right to the culture of the New York Knicks. And that's all I ask. That's all I ask, baby. You crawl before you walk. We crawled last year. We go walk, and we close to sprinting. I still think we need another pace, but we have moved in the right direction. I like this. I like this. I like this. Go New York. Go New York. Go. Whoa.
Absolutely pathetic. Pathetic.
Just so we can see him at the end of another season, just be like, what happened?
Oh my God! And right, I just tweeted out right under that, Angel, right on my Twitter account, right under the show. That's thanks for all of you who already tuned in. Right before, here's Adrian Wojnarowski and Stan Verrett on SportsCenter this morning, breaking it down. Not going to play the whole 5 minutes, but just the first minute or so. This is how, because Woj broke this story, and this is how it all went down, Angel, if you wouldn't mind doing that.
Yippers coming up here as soon as I.
Yep.
Ta-da.
You're an amazing person.
Let me know when you see the video.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I do see it.
Agent Wojnarowski broke this story, and he joins us now on SportsCenter. They really do love those Villanova guys with the Knicks, Woj. How did this come about for New York?
Stan, the Knicks were determined to acquire Mikal Bridges, and they have been gathering up draft assets for years to get into the position to overwhelm somebody with an offer for a player they very much wanted. They didn't do it with Donovan Mitchell 2 years ago, but they did it today for Mikal Bridges. And what the Knicks are doing is trying to load up on big-time two-way wing players to take on the NBA champion Boston Celtics in the East. They get one with Mikal Bridges, and now they'll try to re-sign OG Anunoby, to bring back against the Celtics next year a group that can certainly score and, more importantly, guard that team. But there were other teams who wanted to get at Mikal Bridges. He has been a coveted asset around the league, just one of the really unique, versatile player who just fits anywhere. And now the four Villanova players are back together, 2 national championships at Villanova, and now they'll try to win a championship in New York.
All right, that's good. That's good, Angel. Thanks so much. And so there it is. Big deal for the Knicks, and we'll see how it works out. Obviously, those guys have chemistry. They won 2 natties, as you just heard. I mean, that was Jay Wright had an unbelievable squad back then. They were all phenomenal. So the Villanova/New York Knicks, we shall see what happens. So let's see. So there you have it. Mikal Bridges to the Knicks, and landing a deal also with the Houston Rockets to return the franchise's first-round picks lost in the James Harden deal. So there you have it. In reaction to that, 727-858-6650. It's Stephen A's ridiculous, over-the-top reaction. Meanwhile, what's getting a lot of play also is what happened with JJ Redick, and we played the press conference. We played a lot of the highlights yesterday, Angel, but he's getting chastised for dropping F-bombs a little bit. And, Mr. Duke, and he does have a way of, there's a smugness about JJ Redick. I mean, he's obviously very intelligent. He was a great player in college and pretty good player in the pros and smart. But there are people out there that think there's this smugness about him, and you can see it when he's talking on television, breaking down games and everything else. It's almost like he's talking down to you all the time. It's a really Duke arrogance. That's why a lot of people hate Duke, is because somebody was saying how he oozes Mike Krzyzewski and that kind of thing.
Right.
And we're going to find out what kind of coach he is in the NBA, because as he knows, it's a players' league, and we're going to find out, how tough he really is going to be. But if we can go to the cuts from the NBA, Knicks to acquire Mikal Bridges from the Nets, and scroll down to where is it? Cut number cut number where is it? Oh, cut number one, the second to last one, Rachel Nichols. I'm going to start with that one. Rachel Nichols on Undisputed, talking about J.J. Redick dropping an F-bomb yesterday, or a couple of them, at his press conference.
I don't have a problem with him saying it. Saying it is a little bit of an interesting situation, because he didn't realize at the time that he was being simulcast on radio and TV.
Oh, that's something different.
It wasn't until the radio guys told him when he came on after the press conference, oh, by the way, did you know that we're simulcasting this? And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. It means nothing. Is the radio station going to get hit by the FCC? No, they are not. Does it matter that young, impressionable children may have been listening? I have kids. They've heard it before.
I was literally about to say.
So I'm not worried about any of the reality. The only thing that caught my ear about that was it's a teeny, tiny, insignificant, but tip of the iceberg example of what he doesn't know yet. Little things. And I guarantee you, he will never be in one of those super official press conferences. He may when he's in the scrum just talking to people, but he will never be in one of those super official, those big press conferences and swear like that again, because he is meticulous in that kind of stuff, and now he's learned. But you are going to see little things, and some of them are going to matter nothing the way this mattered nothing. Some of them could end up being important. So that's what caught my ear about him swearing. I did think, to your point, Key, he was very emphatic in that answer. That's the answer he swore on, right? So it makes me think, we have been listening. Obviously, it's important to you. He will need an extremely tough skin if he is the Lakers head coach. We have seen him have back and forth on Twitter with people. We have seen him. He and Doc Rivers went at it over the last 6 months. Yep. Is that part of the content engagement farm, as he called it, which was a fantastic turn of phrase, or is that his nature? So we're just going to have to find out.
And I'm not going on a limb here, Angel, or to anybody else. I would bet my life on it that he does not make it the 4 years. Bet my life on it. He doesn't make it 4 years with the Lakers. Angel, I do want to play, and also last cut about this. This is Michael Kay, and he, I believe, really goes after him on his radio show yesterday. That's cut number 4, Angel. Michael Kay on J.J. Redick at the Lakers press conference. And I got to tell you, I listened to part of it earlier today before he came on the air. He echoes a lot of the stuff I think I'm my feelings as well as a lot of others. But here it is from Michael Kay.
No, I'm going to be the old guy on the lawn. Shit clouds.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And you know what? Maybe I am sometimes. But when Peter, who's young and hip and fresh, if he brings it up, it kind of opens the door for me just a little bit to climb through.
A little bit. The portal.
What exactly has happened to the coarsening of our society, where a guy who went to Duke, a bright guy, just drops an F-bomb? Why? On live TV? Why is that okay now? Is that okay?
No.
So maybe the FCC should change all these rules too. I mean, this guy just dropped it, and it's not just J.J. Redick, but this is a man of authority right now. It's people use the F word like it's nothing now.
Let's go back to yesterday, shall we? Everyone gathered around in Los Angeles to hear the words of the new, well-dressed head coach, Jonathan Jacoby Redick.
What misconceptions or concerns about you that you've heard in the last few weeks are you the most looking forward to dispelling?
I don't really have a great answer for your question because I really don't give a honestly. I want to coach the Lakers. I want to coach the team. I don't want to dispel anything. I don't. I want to become a great coach in the NBA, and I want to win championships, and I want my players to maximize their careers. That's all I care about.
Yeah, see, well, what have I told you for many years, guys? Michael missed yesterday. Yeah, he had a little bit of it was a controlled meltdown. He just went right after JJ. Don said he was physically scared of me. He said I was giving like real Dahmer. I wore the Dahmer glasses. Yeah, he had the serial killer vibe. Because Michael, something's been unsheathed. Something's been awoken inside of me by seeing JJ Redick in this role. Oh, Dookie filth. Things were said.
You never liked him anyway, even when he worked here.
Smell the sweat of Mike Krzyzewski's, dripping down his suit. I was never a fan for a lot of reasons, basketball-wise. But yesterday, I'm telling you, prepare for a JJ Redick as a head coach. When you talk about the coarsening of society, or however you described it, he is going to have the smugness of like a long-time NBA coach. Or really head coach in a lot of sports, college sports, pro sports, that real smugness sort of talking down to media. Because say what you want about JJ, I don't know the man. I think we could all agree, if you've ever heard him talk on television or anywhere, he's not shy about how smart he believes himself to be. And it comes across in his dookie nature.
Boom.
But it's going to be a mix of that sort of old school smugness, Michael, and obviously no problem cursing on his first day at the job. But then it's going to be mixed with the modern day constant defense of everything that is new, because part of his brand is I'm young, I'm a player's coach, I get this league. It's going to be a rich mix of annoying.
Well, it's interesting because, there are different levels of media. So if you want to curse on a podcast, right, and everybody does, it's because, okay, that person that's listening to has chosen to listen to that podcast. But people that were watching the Lakers broadcast live, they're proudly introducing their coach, and he drops that F-bomb. Again, I don't want to be that old man, but I would ask JJ Redick, do you care that there might have been a 10 or a 12-year-old listening? Because I don't want my kids to talk like that. I think a lot of society, they don't care anymore.
Well, and he's right, Angel. I want to get your thoughts on that. But, it's unfortunate. We see it all the time. And it's not just on ESPN or whatever. TNT. These players in a lot of sports now, they drop F-bombs all the time on live TV. How many times have we seen it throughout the NBA playoffs? It's like nothing. It's like nothing anymore. And I remember the first time, Angel, I ever heard a cuss word come over the television. And forgive me because I want to repeat it verbatim. John McEnroe versus Vitas Gerulaitis, the late, great Vitas Gerulaitis in tennis. I believe at the U.S. Open, it was either 1980 or 81. I'm 13 years old. I'm watching with my buddies, Jeff and two Johns. And Pat Summerall was doing the play-by-play, as you can for tennis. And Mac hit a shot, and it was a good shot. And Vitas hit a good shot to McEnroe, and it clearly hit the line. This was way before all the technology and everything else, and McEnroe got the point. And Gerulaitis screamed at the top of his lungs as he's running towards the umpire, "The goddamn ball is on the fucking line!" And it came over like it is you and I talking. And that's the first time, and that was a doozy. And Pat Summerall immediately was, "Well, we apologize for Vitas Gerulaitis," and so you kind of. And he was a hothead, too. Everybody knows McEnroe's temper. What a great player they both were. McEnroe's a phenomenal player. But that's the first time I ever heard a cuss word come over the air like that. And it was two of them, the F-bomb and the GD. So it was. We've come a long way since then. Now it's almost, especially with cable, it's just, I don't even think about it anymore. When I heard it, Vitas Gerulaitis say, of course, I'm with my friends. We're teenagers. He's so funny. It's great that happened. And but we were in shock, like, oh my God. Like I say, you just don't hear that. The other time it almost came over. The second time I heard it was Herb Brooks during the Olympics against Czechoslovakia, I believe it was the game that they routed them. The Czechs were considered the second best team in the world back then after the Russians, and USA beat them pretty handily 7-2. But I remember Herb saying, we're going to shove that goddamn stick up your ass because it was a couple of cheap hits that they had on the USA players. That was the other time. And Al Michaels even referenced it back then. It's like, oh, there's her, Herb Brooks, the world got to know what he was really about. But anyway, as far as the swearing goes, Angel, it's just, I think JJ Redick needs to be, I think all coaches, there's a certain professional demeanor, I think, that's gone out the window here the last few years. And not by everybody, but by too many that just think they can. You're a head coach, especially in the pros. You're a head coach, and you're supposed to have, a certain demeanor about you. Come off as professional. You don't have to like all the questions, but you don't have to f-bomb at everybody as well, or make a general statement. I mean, what is that? Are you supposed to be some tough guy because you said f-bomb twice? It's I don't really care. He won't make it 4 years, Angel. But just your thoughts on the whole thing.
Listen, on this show, we don't do kind of that stuff. I don't know what they're even talking about. And, it's funny because it's also hypocrisy, too, because if you look at it, why isn't Michael Kay saying the same thing about Pat McAfee, if that's the case? Because no one has a problem with Pat McAfee. Is it because it's biased because he's on ESPN?
Well, no, but you know what he's saying it's okay when you're having podcasts, and I consider McAfee's show on ESPN sort of like a podcast because it really is. There's different rules, not different rules, but they allow him to do that was part of the deal that he signed. But he doesn't go off and say F this and F that. In fact, I don't think if he said one F-bomb, I'd be shocked. I know he says bullshit a couple times and all that stuff. But I think what Michael Kay is saying, if you go into a podcast, you expect some coarse language at times. And that's why I think with the Pat McAfee show, it's a little bit different than coaches sitting up at podiums and players and F-bombing away, especially on the professional level.
No, I agree. But at the same time, too, they see... In the media, the problem it's become is they find it cute when it happens, right? How many videos do we not see on social media where you see these kids cursing and the parents laugh like, oh, don't say that. And then you hear them giggle. Like my kids never done that, but I don't care. I raise them differently. And if we're having an adult conversation, it was away from the kids because, you have friends. They're going to talk the way they want to. I'm not going to censor someone in my own home back in the day. And even till this day, you can say whatever.
Well, yeah, but Angel, in your own home, if you heard a bunch of kids F this, F that, God damn it, blah, blah, I mean, you would say something.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. But the kids usually went to a whole different room, so therefore they wouldn't be hearing the conversation what's going on. But if it got out of hand, I would end up saying something. But at the same token, too, you shouldn't be during a press conference. You shouldn't. We've seen coaches. We've seen, Torch down in Philly. He, I think his second press conference in, he went off a little bit. But even then, and obviously they caught it and they bleeped it out. I understand the professionalism that JJ Redick is supposed to have. And for him not to know that obviously he was being simulcast, I seriously doubt that. Everybody knows when there's a press conference, TV, radio, more than likely it's back to back, unless you're some really no-name hack. And then they're going to put just a radio. To me, personally, it's a major overkill with these guys because they act like I'm pretty sure they haven't done it before either. They may not have done it on air, but the attack was him. And then when it comes because it's Duke, and I know there's a lot of people that hate it, or one of my favorite teams in basketball, but
I hate them.
It was too freaking much. Too much when it comes to JJ. So what? It was two of them. Is he probably going to do it again during the season? Yeah, because he's going to have to gather himself again and be like, okay, I really can't say that. But, kind of whoa the brakes on that too.
Yeah, but also, look, I can understand coaches in all sports. Something happens in the heat of the moment after the game and you're doing a press conference and somebody F-bombs, like you said, Torch is a good example, and so many others. I get that. But when you're having like this quote unquote sort of coronation of JJ Redick and you're the Lakers, yet another head coach, I think you have to have a little bit more demeanor in situations like that. It's not like you're right after a game. And this is why he's going to struggle, because they are going to be all over him in his face. Because as I said, time and time again, this team ain't going anywhere anytime soon. They are maybe the 9th or 10th best team in the Western Conference. And that's a fact. That is not an opinion. That is a fact. And he's going to be under fire the entire season because they're going to get off to it. They're not going to be good. All these other teams have gotten better. They haven't. They're the same old Lakers, and he's going to be under pressure. I still think it's odd that he only got offered a 4-year deal, but Dan Hurley got offered a 6-year deal. It should have been more than that. And by the way, when we come back from break, I'll give you Stephen A's take yesterday on First Take with the panel. He got blasted for his take about why Dan Hurley didn't take the job. But let's do this, Angel. Let's take a quick break. You're doing an awesome job already. Just in the first half hour. Huge show lined up for you today. Next hour at 8:30, Mick Colagio will join me. He is headed out to Vegas shortly to cover the NHL draft. We'll get his thoughts on the Florida Panthers winning the Stanley Cup and all things. We'll get his take on Linus Ullmann, which he predicted would be not with the Bruins. And he ends up with Ottawa yesterday. Jake Maurice, the son of Paul Maurice, will join me at 9:05 a.m. and we'll talk about the Florida Panthers, more about the Florida Panthers and the Florida Everblades. And then 9:30 a.m., Bill Sparrows from senior betting analyst from bookies.com and also great columnist for the Boston Herald. All part of the Pete Sheppard Show today on this Wednesday, along, of course, with the legendary Angel Martinez right here on the Riptide Media Network.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
The Pete Sheppard Show. It's fun for the whole family, if it's dysfunctional.
I am Groot!
I knew it was coming.
Gotta love it. I wish I had a little Groot. You know, wonder if Charo would eat him if we had a little baby Groot in the house. Anyway, those you don't know, if you've ever seen Guardians of the Galaxy, then you have no idea what I'm talking about. But baby Groot, great character in the movies. Anyway, and that's all he says. He says it's like Timmy on South Park.
Yep.
Timmy. That's all Timmy says. Timmy. All Groot says is, I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. Anyway, welcome back to the Pete Sheppard Show. And you heard that last spot coming in, and I've always wanted to bring this up to you. Who takes their kids to the forest? Unless it's like a Disney thing or something like that, the magical forest. I mean, where we're going to Narnia? I mean, what is that? I mean, what child goes up to their kid and goes, Mom, Dad, take me to the forest?
Exactly. Not a one. Don't even camp out in their backyards. Although I got some, Debbie was telling me how in their childhood, the way they ended up doing stuff. And some of the stories will crack me up because today you wouldn't be able to get away with it as far as even if you're hanging out in your backyard because of the world that we live in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't see a kid telling their mom, like, Mom, Dad, can you take me to the forest this weekend? And, no, it's not happening.
No, I mean, again, unless the forest is part of some magical kingdom of some corporation or something like that, then. But I don't want to go to the forest. I don't even like. I don't camp out. I don't. I need an ice machine. Let's put it that way. I don't travel anywhere unless if there's not an ice machine. Always been that way. I don't sleep on the ground. I don't tent. I don't sleep in. It's just not my thing. Camping is not my thing. I love to go fishing and love some of the events surrounding it, but I'm not doing the log cabin thing with a bathroom that's this big and a shared bathroom with that. I'm not. No.
That was probably the only thing that we used to go camping, and we used to go to KOA campgrounds, and we went up in Canada. My dad, that was the first camping trip that we had, and it was August, and he's telling me, he goes, by the way, did you bring some PJs? I'm like, we're outside, Pop. It's going to be like 85 degrees up there in Canada. He goes, yeah, wait till the nighttime. So he brings his big heavy blanket, and I didn't bring any PJs. It was, t-shirt, shorts, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it was 82, I want to say, during the day. That night, it dropped down to 32. So me, of course, I should have been nice enough to be like, oh, is Dad freezing? Nope. Took away your blanket, put it on me. I'm like, sorry, dude, you're lost. But we ended up getting a blanket in afterwards. But no, I mean, we had fun. I will say that much, but it was weird. That was the only thing that when you went into the showers in the military, of course, then years later, I got used to it because of the way it was. But being for the men, I don't know if they did it for the women, but for the men, you were in a public shower where there was no walls.
Yeah. And the thing, I went camping. I was in 6th grade in Narragansett, Rhode Island. And we went to this camp at the time. I don't know if it's still there. I just remember it was Alton Jones. And the campers, everybody was nice and everything. And the first time it was me and it was guys and girls. It was 6th grade elementary school. And we were all in obviously separate cabins divided by, girls and boys and all that stuff. So I was in the cabin with, I think it was 4 to a cabin, 2 bunk beds and everything else. And I will never forget this. This is an adult story, but nevertheless funny as hell. It was back this is 1979. So it's back in the day. Remember when you used to get your like you said, showers and everything else. We all shower, everybody's naked in front of you to dress up and it's time for bed. It's like 9:30. It's like time for bed. But I won't say their names, but one, I'll just say Joe 1 and Joe 2. Right. Joe 1 comes out of the shower and had a towel around his waist, starts to, remember how he used to snap towels at people?
Yep.
So Joe, actually, I'll tell you, the kid's name was Fred. I'll never forget it. he's just like snapping away, not necessarily at anybody, but this kid Freddie walked right in front of him and snapped him, boom, right where you think it would, the most
would sting the most,
below the equator, where we're stinging the most.
Holy
this
Lord.
kid turned white as a ghost, and within 5 seconds, blah, and I mean puked blood. Blah.
Oh.
Of course, I'm on the bunk bed. I got my blanket on. I'm watching the whole thing. I turned over. I couldn't stop laughing, and then, everybody's going, Freddie, you're right. You're right. And then he puked normal right after that. And we're all laughing even harder. And then after it was all said and done, actually, he laughed about it too. But I had never seen anything like that in my life. You talk about the picture perfect snap. Boom. Blah. It was like,
good Lord. Jeez,
it was in the winter too, so we had to drink. It was in the winter. It was already snow on the ground, all that stuff. It's also the first time I've drank from a freshwater creek.
There you go.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
When you could back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, you would think, well, at least in other parts of the world or this country, you can. Colorado, maybe Montana, Wyoming, but I don't know. There's some fresh. People go freshwater fishing here in Florida.
Oh yeah,
all the time. But I wouldn't drink the water.
No.
So imagine that. So Freddie, wherever you are, I hope you're okay. That was a long time ago in 1979.
It's the dumb things that we used to do as kids, boys. It's part of, growing up. That was one of the things, because the girls would be like, you guys are so dumb. Yeah, we know this when we were younger. I mean, and some people continue it until their later years in their adult ages. But I mean, it was all part of growing up. How in the world, certain things you just did, it was because of fun. It was the experience. That was it. And then you moved on from it. And you went back when you saw each other years later, like, hey, remember when we did this? Yeah, that was so stupid. But that's the reason why you have stories.
Yeah, I mean, look, I didn't get in a lot of trouble as a kid. I wasn't a goody good, but I didn't get in a lot of trouble. The worst thing was my potty mouth, and not because of my parents. It's because, playing baseball and everything from a young age, it was a bad habit that I still try to, every year on New Year's, I say, okay, I'm going to cuss less. I think I do cuss less. I don't cuss a lot in the show unless I'm imitating somebody or really, really upset. But I'm not going to sit here and, do the Bill Cosby, a filthy, foul, filthy, for 20 minutes. That gets old and boring.
Yeah.
But, the dumbest thing I said, maybe the dumbest things we did were on the bikes, jumping over people, making ramps. Everybody loved Evel Knievel back then. If people had wood chip piles on top of their lawn, mulch and everything, you freaking drive your bike up on top and go down. If you fell off, you fell off. There were no helmets. There were no knee pads. There was once in a while a kid would have those big orange flags in the back of the bike. Remember those?
Yep.
Yeah. And then you go into your garage and it snaps in half because you forget it's there and it doesn't fit.
I think the best part, that was good because the best part too, we had, for those who don't know, back in 1970, we had paneling. And so if you decided to take the panels off, whether you purchased new ones or you flipped them around to paint it on the backside, at our house, I remember we got one room, we got finally rid of all the paneling and filled it up, blah, blah, blah. So we take it outside. And the block behind us had this dumpster. So my dad was like, all right, just take it down there, fold it, break it apart, throw it in a dumpster. All right, Pop. But because we're kids, we decided, how cool would it be if we make a ramp out of this? Now,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. But when you're a kid, the process of putting the thin piece of wood to a cinder block ramp is not going to make sense. So here we are, we go down, it's alleyway and the cars would rarely come through there unless you would park your car in the back. So here we gain some speed, hit the ramp, and of course you never launched because the cinder block told you, hey, dum-dum, in case you haven't realized, that wood is not going to carry you and your bike and project. So I can't tell you how many times we got hit in the gonads for the same reason because we're like, oh, this is so cool. And
I'm surprised the ramp didn't snap. So I've seen that. My friend had paneling like that too. And we ended up having to tape about 4 of them together because a single panel, the first bike, and thank God he didn't get hurt badly. Same thing, cinder blocks and everything else. But as soon as he went on the panel, it just cracked.
Yeah.
He went fast. We were just testing it out. It's a good thing we did. But we then got more stupid and put 4 panels together. I told you, I jumped off a tree one time with a Glad bag open, thinking I could parachute to the ground.
Sometimes it's stuff that you do. See, I think, listen, no offense to the new millennials and stuff, but the stuff that we used to do back in the day, like you never thought about it.
How about this, Angel? How about I don't know about you growing. I had a swing set in my yard again until we moved, and we had from the time I was about 5 to the time I was about 10 or maybe even 11. I remember being on it. Do you realize my sister Andrea and I, the way we would try to go as high as possible. We would try to flip around. That's how crazy we were. But then we played bumper swing. Yeah, boom.
Oh
boom,
yeah, yep.
Boom. And I don't know how we never fell off, but we never did. And then we just keep going, just swinging and swinging. And then we just jump in the air because back then we played Steve Austin and Jamie Summers, the Bionic Man, $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman. Yeah. That was the big thing. You just climbed onto stuff and thought your legs were bionic to jump off, and thinking you would never get hurt. Thank God we never did. The heights weren't unreasonable. But when I think about some of the height that we got on those swing sets back then, oh my God, crazy. Yeah. Crazy, but that's what I was. Everybody was Steve Austin or Jamie Summers back then. That's just the way it was.
Yeah, we had between the hard plastic seats, depending on which park you went to, you either had those, or of course you had the notorious ones that felt like the leather band when you go to the barber shop and they sharpen up their blades on it.
Yeah.
The bad part with that was it would squeeze your inside so freaking hard. And when you're a kid, again, it doesn't bother you. But as you got older, it was like, hey, this is beyond uncomfortable. But yeah, you're right, because on the rubber ones, you can definitely get more of a better height because
the playground swings were even more dangerous because you can only go so far high on your own home swing set,
Mm-hmm.
But the ones in the playground with the nice leather things, you could really, really get up there. And I did see a couple of bad injuries from some kids doing what we tried to do, but my God, it was crazy. Again, no helmets, no knee pads, no parents around. You just did it. You came home dirty and you bandaged up or you washed up, and that was it.
That was it. Because you always had a friend that always pushed you. Like you told, all right, can you give me a push? And it's like, all right, I'm good. But nope, they wanted to see how high you could swing and then come back and then push you again.
Yeah, yeah.
Even higher. That was such great stuff back in the day. Now, where people don't do that stuff anymore, but that was fun. It was such great times.
It was. All right. Again, Pete Sheppard Show here live this morning on the Riptide Media Network. Thanks for following me on the video platform and the show on the video platform. Following me at PShep326 on Twitter X, on the Facebook and Broad Street South Facebook pages, YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn, Twitch, Rumble, and Sports Radio 102.9. The number to call and text 727-858-6650. So we're talking about JJ Redick before I derail the show a little bit. But if we can scroll down a little bit, Angel, on my Twitter to Awful Announcing. This is the video. I have the audio, but I want people to see the video of Stephen A. talking about Dan Hurley turning down the job with the Lakers. And Molly's reaction is priceless, and rightly so. And then we'll give you my reasons why. Just a bad day overall for Stephen A. One of many.
Switches over. Gas Pump Guy says, how about the slides that were made of metal? And when the sun beamed down on it, that thing got to like 100 degrees.
Oh, yeah. Not only that, that's a great point, Gas Pump Guy. And we all went down them. It got to a point where you used to have to hose them down, at least for the first few slides, because you could. And then if there ever was a little chip, say something happened or whatever, because we remember then you used to run up the slides. Instead of taking the ladder, you'd run back up the slide. But if it ever got dented, or ever there was a tiny, just a tiny little blip or something, and you slide down and you'd rip your thigh, or some part of your leg, you wouldn't even know it's bleeding until your friend told you as you're climbing back up the ladder or climbing back. Oh my, hey Pete, you're bleeding. Why? And then you see this little tiny little thing on the slide, and you're like, oh God. Then I'd go get like masking tape or something and just tape it up, but and keep doing it anyway. The trials and tribulations of youth in the 70s and early 80s. All right, here's Stephen A. talking about why Danny Hurley didn't turn down the job.
Night walk, Molly, or allow me to tell you what sources in L.A. told me, in all seriousness.
Sources in
They
LA.
thought they had a deal with Danny Hurley. They thought that he had flown out to L.A. and that, just like Kendrick Perkins and others said, don't let him out of the building. They had every intention of Danny Hurley signing on with them and being the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. And whether it's true or not, I can assure you there are people within the Lakers organization who believe that Mrs. Hurley
Don't put that on. Yeah,
made
that's
that
not fair.
decision.
Yeah, that's not fair. Don't put that on.
That's okay, though. It's okay, Molly. It's not a bad thing.
But I just don't think
fair.
I just don't think it's factual. That's why. I just don't think it's factual.
Okay, that's fine. What I'm saying to you is this. There's plenty. Listen, we listen to Dan Orlovsky talk all the time. We listen to a plethora of people who are happily married talk about how profoundly important
Yeah,
their
I get what you're
spouse's
saying,
feelings are.
Stephen
That's
A.
all.
I just don't think it's factual. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
How about this?
Okay.
How about this?
They
do.
How about this? All right. Now, a couple of things. Number one, I brought this up a couple of weeks ago when he was rumored to, when it happened. I always said, the spouse in these type of situations always has a say. I can tell you this, Mark Teixeira didn't come to the Red Sox. He chose the Yankees over the Red Sox, which ended up being fine. He chose the Yankees over the Red Sox because Mrs. Teixeira had some sort of modeling or singing career, whatever it was, and she thought she'd have a better chance of succeeding in New York. So, I mean, she made that decision because he wanted to come to the Red Sox.
Right.
This is not uncommon in sports for the spouse, and rightly so, should have a say in it. But when Stephen A. comes out, and I thought it was really interesting that, well, my sources say that, and then when Molly said, I don't think that's accurate. I don't think, whatever. She basically said, Stephen A., your sources suck. That's what she was saying there.
Yep.
That's what she was saying there. No, and I think Mrs. Hurley might have had a change of heart had they not let him out of the building, had given him a 10-year or longer or a better offer of 6 years and over $100 million. I think she might have changed her mind back then. But the offer that was made was not a great offer to Dan Hurley. And I'm sure Dan and the wife, I think her name's Andrea too, that they discussed it. And it turns out a better spot with him stay at UConn. But Stephen A., as usual, you're a day late and a dollar short because that topic was brought up by me 2 weeks ago, and by a lot of other people. It's always in a situation like that. It always comes. That's not breaking news, Stephen A., that you think his wife might have had a say in the decision. That's not breaking news at all. She should. And like I said, I think she might have had to change her heart had the Lakers been more serious about getting Dan Hurley to go there, but they apparently were not, and they gave JJ Redick a 4-year deal, not a 6-year deal like they offered Dan Hurley, a 4-year deal, and I think he's going to get his ass kicked in the first couple of years. And the first year when they finish 10th again or 9th again, or in the play-in tournament, let's see how he handles the stress, Mr. Dookie, of being there the entire year where you have to face a scrutiny. You can claim you're a player's coach all you want. Let's see how LeBron takes you on the floor. Let's see how AD takes you and the rest. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens. But
Yuppers.
But so there's the Knicks and the Stephen A. reaction, and Michael K. and JJ Redick and all that stuff. Wanted to get before we take another break at the top of the hour. Well, actually, let's play one more video before the top, and let's get into some NFL news. Okay. I have, if you scroll down once again, doing the phenomenal job. It's down a little bit. Dov Kleiman had it. I retweeted it. The trailer for the Hard Knocks offseason with the New York Giants just dropped late last night, and we'll show it to you. I have the audio, but the video we're going to play. We always play, if we can, as much video as we can. So here's how. Here it is, you Giants fans out there. See if this doesn't give you goosebumps. Not.
For YouTube and Facebook and other places, this is a public domain known as Twitter/X, and it is available to the common folk. Before you guys like to send me my nasty grams on a daily basis, I have to fight. So once again, this is public domain. It is not live. It is not TDK tapes.
Here it is.
New York Giants are now on the clock.
We should stay and pick, right? This is Atlanta. What are you thinking?
Our team's not built. We're still adding pieces, but we still have the draft and free agency.
What about Brian Burns? Have you looked at Brian Burns? We would have to trade like 2 2s, and then you have to pay him $28, $29 million.
Breaking news. Brian Burns to the New York Giants.
I'm a G-man.
With the 6th pick, the New York Giants select Malik Neighbors.
You ready to be a New York Giant?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
I am 5 months from the surgery, so progressing that. I've gotten hurt, but not like this.
When you win here, it's unlike anywhere else. If you lose, they're going to be on your ass. It's New York, man.
He's doing everything he can to get back on the field.
Saquon, can you give me your word on that, or are you not going to give us a chance?
My job is to do what's best for the franchise. Let's go!
Ooh,
Can I have your word on that, Saquon?
Exactly.
Yeah, here's a word for you. See ya, I'm going to Philadelphia.
Friggin' exactly. You got to be kidding me. Like they treat him like garbage the last 2 seasons. But do I have your word? Get out of here with that nonsense.
So Joe Shine, the general manager, you heard him, Brian Daboll, Mike Kafka, the OC, Shane Bowen, the DC. So yeah, and Malik Neighbors, potentially great wide receiver out of LSU, but he's, he was a little bit banged up. I don't know. I kind of, I'm a little hard knocked out. And why did you just faded away? You're gonna have to refresh. You're not there anymore, Angel. On the right hand side.
The magical powers of just doing the okie dokie refresh, and then you'll be able to see me all over again. So it happens. Now, listen, Giants fans, I feel bad for you guys, honestly, because they're not as bad as the Redskins, Commanders, whatever you want to call them, DCU. They're not as bad, but you guys are going to go through it this season, just like Dallas is going to go through it. No different than the Eagles fans are going to go through it as well, because we're going to see what Nick Sirianni crew happens. So, and he's back.
There you are. Spalding, get off the boat. Says, good morning, gents. I get to watch the show. Thought I had to be at work 7 but go until 10. Working at 10 to 2. Yes, absolutely.
He's about to take
the gentleman, I saw him on Facebook. I wished him happy birthday. Was it Michael? Yesterday was his birthday. It was his birthday today. I saw it came up he's a friend of mine on Twitter. I don't know him personally, but anyway, happy birthday to anybody out there. All right, my friend, let's take another quick break. And when we come back, some more NFL sound for you. Let me see what I got here. We just played you the Hard Knocks. Got a couple of things out of the Baltimore and from Sirius XM NFL Radio Chicago. So NFL sound to play for you, and also hopefully get to a baseball rundown as well. Some interesting things happened last night in the world of Major League Baseball. And I'm also going to play for you Texas A&M head. That's what we're going to start when we come back. The video of Jim Schlossnagle berating a reporter for daring to ask about him leaving the Aggies of Texas A&M to go be the head baseball coach at arch rival Texas. And,
by the way, let's also not forget, thanks to our new partnership with Ion Tampa Bay, IonTV.com. You guys can check out the latest news, weather, and traffic. The traffic alerts, you'll get it on Twitter, on IonTV. If you guys give them a follow, they'd appreciate it. But IonTV, you guys get the local news here in Southwest Florida. They break down all what happened during the overnight, things that you may have missed on your local network channels. Ion TV has you covered, IonTV.com. Give a follow. Also, because we know our friends down in Fort Myers, particularly a Fox Sports station, good morning, as we know that you guys are repeating what we do here throughout the day in the evening, but you're welcome. Just make sure you acknowledge folks the way you should acknowledge them. Just saying.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I got some friends that work over there. Okay, very good. All right, quick break here on the Pete Sheppard Show. When we come back, some NFL news to tell you about. Again, it's Jim Schlossnagle. You don't want to miss this, what he said a couple of days ago and then bolted about 15 hours later down the street. Now, well, Texas, it's, everything's bigger in Texas, allegedly. We'll get to that, plus some NFL and MLB sound as well. All part of the Pete Sheppard Show here on a Hump Day Wednesday on the Riptide Media Network.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick, and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Pete Sheppard Show on the Riptide Media Network.
Martinez as moving right along. Bottom of the hour, Mick Colaggio going to join me, get his thoughts on the Florida Panthers winning the Stanley Cup, and also he's headed out to Vegas at the Sphere to cover the NHL draft. Jake Maurice, Paul Maurice's son. Jake does a great job for the Florida Everblades play-by-play, but I'm sure he's with his dad and his family as they celebrate. We'll get his thoughts and also any inside information he might have, as the Everblades no longer an affiliate of the Florida Panthers or the Charlotte Checkers, and not uncommon in the ECHL. And at 9:30, Bill Sparrows will join me, the senior betting analyst from bookies.com and also great columnist for the Boston Herald. Before we went to break, I want to tell you the big story of the day is what happened last night. The Nooks. I'm a schnook. The Nooks. The Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets went more than 40 years without making a deal. Obviously, when they're back in New Jersey. But it's their first deal since 1983. Mikal Bridges will be joining former Villanova teammates Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, and Josh Hart on the now renamed Villanova Knicks. So Brooklyn, by the way, has recovered a monster haul of draft picks, including 2 of their own picks from Houston, as well as 5 total first-rounders from the Knicks, plus an unprotected swap. The Rockets also took in control of 2 Suns first-round picks that they hope to redirect for Kevin Durant. So, yeah, it's a little confusing, these type of deals, but, man, it's a huge risk by the Knicks. Stephen A. can be orgasmic all he wants. It's a huge risk to give up control of 5 of your own first-round picks in a 7-year span. Think about that. 5 of your own first-round picks in a 7-year span. You're going to be vulnerable. There's no doubt about it. And if this goes awry, which I'm hoping it does, tanking will not be an option here.
Nope.
It won't be an option because the roster that's constructed will be the team for the next handful of years. There'd be no way around it. And, they didn't give up all of this before for Kevin Durant, like Phoenix did a few years ago. They gave up for player Bridges. He's never been an all-star. And people who want to criticize, it's absolutely, you can. Now, there are so few opportunities to quote-unquote win now. And whatever they're hoping the chemistry between the 4 Villanova players, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson, now Mikal Bridges, will spark the team. But spark the team out. Is this still a team? The one thing I will agree with Stephen A. in the cut we played earlier, they still need another piece or two if they want to compete with the Celtics. They still need another piece or two. But if this doesn't work out, that team is screwed. They're gonna be in no man's land for like 7 to 10 years. You do not want to be the '80s Washington Bullets, where you were just stuck sort of in no man's land for a long period of time because the salary cap will kill them on this deal. And the fact that they're not going to have any first round picks for a while, I mean, it's brutal. But we shall see. We shall see. All right, Angel, if we could. Where was it? On my Twitter page, scrolling down. Actually, you know what? I would rather have you do this if you can.
Okay.
On ESPN's. No.
My pacemaker.
That's a toaster I'm going on. On ESPN's main page, if you go down, it's like the 6th story down.
On ESPN?
Yes. Schlossnagle leaves Texas A&M for rival Longhorns. If we could play that cut and then Feiney's reaction, Paul Feinbaum's reaction. There's going to be a commercial before it. So, but I want you to hear the whole thing, and I want you to hear Feiney's reaction because it's how I feel everybody felt, and after it was said.
On their Twitter page?
No, on just regular ESPN.com.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep. So I didn't get the shit. I want to hear Feiney's. I want you to hear Feiney's reaction as well. It's really good. But Mr. Schlossnagle has got to realize there's no such thing as dumb or even selfish questions after they lost to Tennessee. But it was really he was really nasty to the reporter who asked the question and then bolted. Not too long after, less than a day later, he bolted for the Texas Longhorns.
Right,
see it, Angel?
I'm at their main page.
Their main page, that's a 6th story down.
Okay.
Yeah, there'll probably be a spot before that, but.
Yep, I'll wait for it to come up.
Yep, and audience is gonna love it. We'll get to the NFL news as well, including the Jacksonville City Council voting 14-1 last night to approve a $14.1 billion renovation of Everbank Stadium. We'll get to that some other NFL news as well from certain camps. And the other thing, too, that people may not know, combining the Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals, is that Matt Tkachuk and Jason Tatum were high school high school classmates, not teammates, but high school class. Actually, I don't know if Chuck was playing hockey and Jason was playing basketball. I don't know if they played other sports together, or baseball or whatever. But it's hard to believe those kids in Missouri, those two wonderful kids, Matt Kachuk and Jason Tatum, good friends. All right, you have it, Angel? All right, here it is. Texas A&M head baseball coach Jim Schlossnagle, who says he's not leaving A&M.
And once again, let me put out the disclaimer, YouTube, Facebook, and everyone in between. This is available on public domain, ESPN.com, number 6 article down the road. So
it's on Twitter. It's already been retweeted on Twitter by several outlets. So it doesn't.
If you don't put it out there, then I get the super flag up there like a bike.
With the rumors circulating today about a specific job opening, what do you have to say about your future in Aggieland?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Yeah,
Texas A&M fan here. We just got done watching that College World Series, and I wanted to hear what your take was on the new A&M moving on from their head coach. It's I think it's kind of a messed up move by Jim to say all that last night, and then the next day moving on to Texas, the rival school. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll repeat something that I thought about earlier. The question was going to happen. The rumors have been out there. I mean, there have been Vitello rumors as well. So he got asked the question, and the correct answer, and by the way, these are things you have to think about. Always, I've talked to great coaches, Hall of Fame coaches, some of the best of all time, and they always say, when I have a plan if we win, and I have a plan if we lose. You have to be cognizant of what you're going to communicate. And his answer was embarrassing. All you have to say is, listen, we just walked off the field where we gave our guts, left our guts on that field, and all I care about tonight is my players. And I mean, make a stand. Instead, he chastised the reporter. It was all about him. I left my family behind for this job. It's the last job I'll ever have. And look, 19 hours later, it's being reported by multiple outlets in Texas that he's leaving.
Yeah, dead on. I mean, this is why I never believe
Geico
coaches
can help when you get a flat tire with their.
Get rid of that. But that's why I don't believe any coach in any sport when they say when they start talking about family and sacrifices and all that. Yeah, every coach has that. We know it's a very tough job. But for him to do that and say that and then take off less than a day afterwards, he agreed to a deal with the Longhorns just a day. Really wasn't even a day after the 6-5 loss to Tennessee. Texas President Jay Hartzell says, quote, "What a home run hire. Coach Schlossnagle is the best in the business, his long list of accomplished, blah, 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 blah." And I'm looking down the ESPN story. Aggies athletic director Trev Albert said this: "After our baseball team arrived back in College Station earlier today, meaning yesterday, Jim informed me of his desire to leave Texas A&M. While we're certainly disappointed, we were grateful for his contributions in helping our baseball program with reach unprecedented heights. Baseball success is important to everyone associated with Texas A&M, and we will not stop in our pursuit of excellence, and our commitment to baseball will not waver." In a statement, Schlossnagle thanked Texas A&M President General Mark A. Walsh III, Alberts, and the fans for an incredible experience. Quote, "For an incredible experience during my time at Texas A&M. Although I know many will be upset with my decision, I chose to make a change to join a longtime friend to continue my career as a college baseball coach. The run to the national championship game was truly remarkable one this year, and will savor the memories and true friendships I have made there for a lifetime." So again, he's reunited with Texas AD Chris Del Conte, who was his boss at TCU, where Schlossnagle coached the Horned Frogs from 2004 to 2021. Here's a problem I have. There was no he puts out a statement so he doesn't have to face the media. Kind of cowardly to because he'd have to go back and talk about what he said to that reporter.
Right.
When he says, so he gets away with all I know. Many will be upset with my decision. I chose to make a change to join a longtime friend. But there was no one there to ask him, how could you say what you said? Is your word not your bond? What happened from that? What happened from the 19 hours ago when you chastised that reporter? What happened in that 19-hour time span? See, nobody's there to challenge him. Yep. And I hope somebody does challenge him when he gets to Texas and his opening press conference, whatever that is. I hope there's enough people that will call him out on it. And I would play it right back for him. What changed from when you lost to Tennessee to 19 hours later when you lied and said you weren't going anywhere? He's not the first coach to lie. He won't be the last. They all lie. But he was so adamant about it. And, when you start talking about sacrifice my family and everything else, I don't want to hear that nonsense. Every coach, we know what it takes to coach at high-level sports. You're obviously going to make sacrifices for your family, whether you miss plays or games for your kids, whatever it is, a gymnastics event, whatever it is. The wife ends up taking a lot of responsibility for that. We understand all that. I want to know, I would just say, why were you so, it sounded like you spoke with conviction after the loss to Tennessee, and then you flat out leave everybody high and dry 19 hours later. What changed? Now, I know the answer. He was always going to leave for Texas. And Feiney is right. All he had to say was, right now I'm with Texas A&M. He could have phrased it in so many other ways and not chastised the reporter. But he did it, and he made a jackass out of himself. And I hope somebody in the Longhorns, somebody in Texas media calls him out on it and makes him react to what he said initially when they lost to Tennessee about, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, okay. The only times I've heard that in my lifetime, I told you the story a million times about me playing golf at Brick Pitino when I was 19 years old. Sat there for 4 hours and told me how I wouldn't leave Providence and go to the Knicks. About 48 hours later, he was coaching the Knicks. So there you go. All right. Thanks for following us on the Riptide Media Network video platform. Follow me at PShep326 on the Facebook and Broad Street South Facebook pages, YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn, Twitch, Rumble, of course, on Sports Radio 102.9. Here I am at the Isola della Cucina in Fort Myers. The phone number to call or text 727-858-6650. Angel, if we could scroll to the NFL stuff on Total Sports Prep. And by the way, I must say, before that for the best articles and audio, only one source that provides everything you need 365 days a year to satisfy your sports crave. Sports crave is Total Sports Prep. The staff combs through the best articles and audio so you don't have to. Sports and non-sports kicker stories will leave you laughing all day long. To get your free trial of Total Sports Prep, contact them, info@sportsbroadcastingcoach.com. That's info@sportsbroadcastingcoach.com. Total Sports Prep, the name says it all. All right, Angel. If we are at the NFL stuff, I would like to scroll down. Let's go in order here. If you see it, Baltimore's Devontae Walker shares his rookie goals courtesy of the Ravens Final Drive podcast.
They move it up to the top. Yep.
All right.
This is probably the biggest goal of mine, is to find my role, whatever my role is, whether special teams or being a key player on offense, or just being that that plug-in guy, somebody you throw out there in certain situations. Doesn't matter, just finding that role on the team, just create momentum off that. That's my main goal for this year. So just finding that role.
All right. Meanwhile, on Sirius XM NFL Radio, my good friend Pat Kerwin, along with Jim Miller, ranked the Cleveland Browns as the best pass rushing team in the NFL. And people are sending a lot of their cap money in real dollars, spending it on pass rushers.
I put the Pittsburgh Steelers at 2 and the 49ers at 3. There's nothing wrong with being 2 and 3 in this thing. And I think we both know where number one's going because they're the only team that had a 19.
And that would be the Cleveland Browns come in number 1 with 19 points. Obviously, with Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett, you look at some of the backups and the numbers of Alex Wright and Agbo and Kamara, and guys that they've rolled in there. And even McGuire. McGuire got in on the act, too. Even he got a sack. They're down to their 6th guy who's out there getting sacks as well. So Cleveland will be the number 1 pass rushing team.
Yeah, I think, I'll say this, and this was my theme the whole time. These are high scores for this position group. And some of the position groups have different criteria, but not many teams got to 18. And we have a 19 in this case. But the reason is people are spending a lot of their cap money and real dollars on pass rushers. It's very clear. You start looking at the salaries of these guys, and you start to understand the priority to get pass rushers and have some depth. We had some positions, Jim, where the depth was 0 over and over again. You get to these teams that we're talking about, and there are players that can come on the field as backups and go out and get you some sacks, hit the quarterback, etc. So I really enjoy doing the pass rushers because it's a lot of quality players.
Oh, no question about it. No question about it. Pass rushing is right up there. After quarterback, it's cornerback and pass rushers, and that's why they're all getting the big bucks. As we continue, and by the way, guess who? We talked about this yesterday, if you remember, Angel. Guess who all those pass rushers are going to go after the first game of the season at home?
Crap.
Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys.
Shivers.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's also Tom Brady's first game on Fox. That's the game of the week at 4:25 that day. Scrolling down, Chicago, Brian Baldinger shares his instant impact rookies. This is from NFL Network on Caleb Williams and others.
Impact rookie in 2023. Tom Pelissero, Brian Baldinger back here on the Insiders. Our pal Chad Ryder has a story right now, NFL.com/Ryder, projecting 11 instant impact rookies on offense for this season. Baldy, I come to you. If you're giving me a few names you think are going to be instant impact rookies in this season, which is just 72 days away, give me some names.
72 for the Bears at one time, Tom, was the fridge.
Yep.
A powerful defensive tackle who ran for a touchdown in their one big Super Bowl win. 72 days away. So I'm not going to go very far. I'm going to go Caleb Williams. Because no rookie quarterback, including CJ last year, they can't do it by themselves. So I believe that the Bears defense is going to be pretty good. We saw that at the end of the season last year. They had, at the top of the charts, 28 takeaways. They played sound defense. That's going to help the quarterback. He's going to be able to turn around and hand it off to DeAndre Swift, to Khalil Herbert, to Rashawn Johnson. The offensive line has been being built over the last 3 years. We'll get to the receivers. Obviously Keenan and DJ Moore. I think it's not going to always have to be about Caleb. There's going to be times on third down, red zone. He's got to step up and make these plays. But I think he's got a lot of help around him, Tom. And then, another guy that I believe is going to be a great player for the Bears long term is Rome Odunze. When we looked at the top 3 receivers at the top of this draft for 3 straight months, whether, it was Odunze or Herbert or, what they have going on in Arizona right now, I thought Odunze was as good as anybody, if not the best. And I know he can play inside and he can play outside. He could play with a great quarterback like Michael Penix Jr. He could play also pretty well with a guy that was there before Penix. I think he can adjust his style because of his size, his leaping ability, his ability to adjust to the ball in the air and make your quarterback look good.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely an interesting take there. No question about it. The Bears are going to be – they have a chance to be excellent if their quarterback, Caleb Williams, is everything everybody says he is. With that offense they put together, he should do better. He should do better than your average rookies have done on the whole. That is a hell of an offense they have with the Bears, but it's still a rookie quarterback, so we don't know. We shall see. Meanwhile, we continue to scroll down there, and Brian Baldinger on NFL Network talks about one of your Philadelphia Eagles.
Baldy, you mentioned the fridge, William Perry there, number 72 for the 85 Bears. He scored 3 touchdowns on offense that season, memorably.
Yeah.
What one big man in the NFL would you draw up a play to get him in the end zone?
Oh, I mean, the greatest rugby player playing in the NFL right now is Jordan Mailata. And he's 386, or maybe he's 382. Maybe he doesn't want 386 out there. Now, you give it to Jordan Mailata, like he will truck people. Like, forget about the tush push and all this fancy stuff the Eagles are doing. Just give it to Mailata and let him just play rugby and just scrum it across the goal line or any line. I guarantee you he converts.
Sure will.
Well, yeah, except you risk injury. And I understand there's been times that the Patriots have done that. We know the worst thing that ever happened with the fridge in that Super Bowl when they clobbered my Patriots is that Walter Payton did not get a chance to score that touchdown. And it's still to this day, I've talked to Mike Ditka twice about it since then. And that's probably the biggest regret of his coaching career is that he did that. Walter Payton never scored a touchdown in that Super Bowl. But anyway, okay, continuing on. Also on NFL, Sirius XM NFL Radio about Mark Dominic on Brandon Ayuk's future with the 49ers.
With the 49ers, certainly they've had to make their decisions. And Brandon Ayuk and where they have to put their money, it was kind of obvious, I thought, prior to the draft, because it felt like I thought he was going to probably get moved maybe during draft weeks, just because you can only spend it on so many guys. If Brock Purdy puts anything down like he did this year, that quarterback market isn't changing. And in fact, I think Brock Purdy's got the same agent or same agency as Trevor Lawrence did. So, good luck with that. So, they've got to think that way. And I understand it's frustrating for Brandon Ayuk.
And finally, Angel, before we go to break, again from NFL Network, Brian Baldinger and Sarah Walsh talking about Kalijah Kancey and Yaya Diaby for the Buccaneers, and look out for them this year.
Tell me about the other side of the ball. We know Todd Bowles loves his defense. Who are some guys that you're watching in 2024 that maybe could end up being breakout candidates?
Well, Tom, it's always been really well known what a Todd Bowles defense can do. But I think what's flown a little bit under the radar, at least nationally, is a pair of guys that were rookies last year in Kalijah Kancey and Yaya Diaby. Kancey, a defensive lineman, Diaby, an outside linebacker. And part of the reason they went a little bit under the radar last year is because they didn't really find their footing until halfway through. Kancey suffered an injury in training camp, didn't really get going until week 6. But then he was the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Month in November, and he had 10 tackles for a loss. That's second among rookies only to his teammate Yaya Diaby, who then wound up starting the last 9 games of the season for the Buccaneers. Diaby had 7.5 sacks to lead Tampa Bay. These two together combined their numbers, 20 quarterback hits, 59 quarterback pressures, 11.5 sacks, and they were really just getting started is the sense there. When I talked to Kancey recently and I said, what's going to be the biggest difference between year 1 and year 2 for you? And he said total domination, he feels like. He said double-digit sacks is a must. He talked about Diaby just being absolutely relentless. So I think this is a pair. If people had seen them from week 1, if they were able to go week 1, which they weren't, there was that rookie learning curve, there was injuries. These two really got it going late in the year. And if they can continue that upward trend that people in Tampa Bay really saw, I believe that Tampa Bay's defense can only get better. And as you know, Baldy, that has always been the bread and butter here in Tampa.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 7th ranked defense.
We're going to take a quick break, but yes, Kalijah Kancey from Pittsburgh. And of course, Yaya Diaby, Angel from our Constipation College, Louisville. All right, quick break here. The Pete Sheppard Show. Mick Colaggio coming your way next. Our big-time NHL insider. We'll get his thoughts on everything coming up right here with the Pete Sheppard Show on the Riptide Media Network.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Pete Sheppard Show. It's fun for the whole family. If it's dysfunctional.
I am Groot! Got a mood I'm in today. Hump Day, Wednesday. Getting dark out here in Fort Myers. Though you wouldn't know it from my behind me, but looks like we're going to get a little bit more rain down here. Anyway, welcome back to the Pete Sheppard Show here on Hump Day, Wednesday. And joining me right now, before he heads off to the Sphere in Vegas, where he's going to take many pictures and send them to me, is the one and only NHL great insider, Mick Colaggio. Mick, good morning. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
I'm trying to figure out what song we're listening to right now. Maybe you don't hear it.
I don't hear it.
It's the intro. It's the intro. We're here though. We're here. It was the rejoin. It's like rejoin music. It says you're listening to the Pete Sheppard Show.
Yes.
And,
yes.
Yeah. So now we're back. We're back. It's 100% you and me, even though it's getting dark in Florida, and it sure doesn't look dark to me.
No, it does not. Well, you're getting.
I don't know if it's me or you, but I'm having a little bit of a Charlie Chaplin movie experience here.
All right. You know what, Angel? Why don't I refresh my screen? All right. Let's just do that. Hang.
I don't know. It might be me. I feel like I'm watching my end, and I feel like I'm 4 frames a minute.
Go. Mick, can you hear me?
Okay, I'm going to refresh.
Okay.
Should I do that within the software, or should I do it just overall my internet?
No, within the software.
What's a safe way to do that?
Within the software, yeah.
Okay. Where's the command inside the program?
Yeah. Top left. Just hit refresh on your top left of your screen.
Okay. The only one I see is my internet one. So reload the site. Yeah. Changes you made may not be saved. I may not save you guys.
That's all right. You'll be back.
See what happens.
Well, wait for Mick. Rick says, Nick Hogan, son of Hulk Hogan, sentenced to 1-year probation for DUI in Clearwater. Hogan's history of reckless driving includes a 2007 crash that left his passenger with permanent brain damage. The incident led to Hogan serving 8 months in jail and facing years of probation. Didn't see anything saying his license was suspended. Special treatment. Well, I don't know. It's just a sad story that had to happen.
Talking to yourself there. Mick will be back, folks. He went to do a refresh. It may have kicked him out altogether, but he'll come back. When he came on, it was looked like it was lagging on his end, pretty bad. So hopefully he can jump back on in with us. But no,
he will. He will.
I'm quite sure if not, he'll send you a message one way or the other. But he had come in. He came in. I can tell there was something a little bit off because he's never gave that 1,000-yard stare to his screen, but he kind of looked around when he first came on, like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah, we usually don't have any problem with him. Yeah, let's see.
There he is.
There he is. Is he back? Hi, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Pete.
All right, there we go. We are back. All right. Incredible refreshing.
Let's do this.
Let's do this. I have Jake Maurice, the son of Paul Maurice, coming up right after you, Mick. He's the play-by-play voice of the Florida Everblades.
Please pass along my congratulations.
I will do that. I texted him yesterday to try and come on. Stupid me, after they won. I wasn't sure. I got a text message back from him about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He said he just woke up. So you can imagine the celebration that happened. But just overall, your thoughts. Let's just stick with Game 7 for now. I think the stat that jumps out at me the most is Draisaitl and Connor McDavid only combined for 2 shots on net. And I credit more how the Florida Panthers shut them down than obviously they were out of gas a little bit. To listen to Stephen A. yesterday and Shannon Sharp try to break it down, and thank God that PK Subban was there. Otherwise, that would have been one of the most horrific first takes at all. They just refused because they don't understand the game as PK does. The Florida Panthers played their game in Game 7. They're responsible for shutting down Connor McDavid and Draisaitl more than those two being somewhat out of gas, which they absolutely were. But your thoughts on all of Game 7?
I can't believe that Stephen A. Smith worked his way into this conversation, number one. And number two, I think PK Subban did a tremendous job on the broadcast, balancing off Mark Messier, who, while not being a terrible homer, he was like when Tommy Heinsohn used to do CBS with Dick Stockton on Celtics-Lakers games in the 80s. Tommy was very preoccupied with the Celtics. He viewed the whole series through the prism of the Boston Celtics, good or bad, and Stockton struggled with that, and I don't blame him, even though I love Tommy. R.I.P. But I felt that PK did a great job bringing some Panthers thoughts to the analysis when he was with Messier in between periods. He was like another guy behind the Oilers bench talking about the series. fielding questions from Emily. But anyway, a great Game 7. I thought that they treated McDavid and Draisaitl similarly to how they treated David Pastrnak in the second round against the Bruins. Mm-hmm. And by that, I mean, we're going to take our chances on the rest of your team and not let you guys beat us. Almost like basketball. Take away a player, do the best you can to deny a player, and let everybody else. The St. Louis Blues tried to do it to Bobby Orr in the 1970 Stanley Cup. And they had Jimmy Roberts, who was a great player for the Montreal Canadiens, on both sides of that stint with the Blues, do that by shadowing Orr. And Orr would just stand outside the blue line and said, our 4 guys will beat the hell out of your 4 guys. And that's what happened. So he just wound up scoring. The only goal of the series for himself was the last one. Anyway, but yeah, a great Game 7, great performance by the Panthers. They play desperate hockey, facing elimination. That's where they've always been at their best throughout all of this. I thought Paul Maurice's comments on the ice were incredibly insightful afterward, and talking about nothing being easy for that team. It reminded me so much of the 2011 Bruins.
Yep.
And their sense of family, and how he really said that, that this goes back to Radko Gudas. He's part of this. This goes back to, he starts naming different guys that played for them, the Stahl brothers. And I thought that was terrific, because I always feel like Marco Sturm, he'll never get it, but he deserves a ring for the Bruins winning the Cup in 2011. Mark Savard, same thing. Because just, really clutch competitors and great players and great guys who really helped the Bruins climb that mountain, even though they never got to see the summit. And Mark, through a special dispensation, Savard's name is on the Stanley Cup under the 10-11 Bruins, which is nice. But he didn't get to be a part of it, and that's the real crime. So yeah, great series. Incredible that I thought Florida started to get their game back. Game 6 in Edmonton, they played a great second period and lost it 2-0. So I was not surprised to see him play a good game, but I'll be damned if I had any idea how it was going to turn out. I had this distinct, terrible feeling that Game 7 was going to go to overtime for the first time in the 85 years that the NHL has been playing best-of-7 series. And it did not happen, thankfully, because I didn't have all night. And I would have, something would have fallen apart. But it's, it was a great series.
It was. And I said it before the game on Monday on the show. I said I thought it was really imperative that Florida score the first goal, because I was not sure where their psyche was going to be. And then they do get the first goal. And even though Edmonton tied it a little bit later on, but I thought it was incredibly huge.
Really quick.
First. Yes.
Yeah, I think every GM in the league that's ever had a chance to have Janmark on his team is kicking himself in the butt. That exercise, you walk down the street and you kick yourself in the butt with every step to stretch that part around muscles around your knees. Well, that's what they're all doing today about Janmark. What a player he's been. He's like the new Yanni Gord.
And how about in that game though? How I thought the unsung hero, maybe for the series, for the Florida Panthers, had to be. Oh my God, why am I having Rodriguez? I mean, I thought he was phenomenal. I thought he played really, really well.
Well, he's one of the guys who made this team that much better this year. You wonder what was going to happen when a guy like Radko Gudas and the way he plays in the playoff he had last year, and that's not there anymore because he goes UFA. Well, they backfill with Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who's a completely different widget, and you say, okay, will the buy-in be there? Well, the buy-in was there. He became a guy that really does what he does well and did it with intensity. But then you say, okay, what else you got for me? Well, when you add a guy like Evan Rodriguez, you can scratch a guy like Nick Cousins. It does something completely different for you, but you're a better hockey team now. Kevin Stenlund, have I seen better play from a fourth line center this season? Just all over the ice, everything you want a guy like him to do. He's just terrific, and he's so good that he's gonna age out. and they're not going to be able to keep him. And he's going to, unless they let Lundell go at some point, and Stenlund goes up to number 3, and that's, but top 1 to 4, best team in the league down the middle, 1 to 4. What terrific play from all 4 centermen on that hockey team, and very deserving to win it. Rodriguez, what a clutch player. How do you identify the intangibles that make you think that a kid like him is going to be the guy you want, who's going to put your team over the top, who's going to give you that little extra edge? But boy, the way he plays the game and his propensity for big moments is just, and he's such a better skater than a guy like Verhaeghe, who you don't really know as brilliant as he's been. You can also see for parts of the series how he got phased out and he struggled, but he did get that incredible tip in to start off the game and give Florida that all-important advantage you talked about.
And I had no problem whatsoever. I think you and I discussed this the last time we spoke about Connor McDavid, who was probably going to win the MVP, win or lose. I had no problem with it. 42 points with 4 goals, 38 assists. And I know people are making a strong case for Bobrovsky because of the way he played in Game 7, because Connor McDavid, and Draisaitl only had 2 shots combined. But I had no problem with him winning it at all, the Conn Smythe Trophy. How'd you feel about it?
Well, I think that people will get into this argument, and I don't really have an intense feeling about this, but I feel like, because this is the vote of a select group of writers, if they're doing it the same way they did it 20 years ago, the Professional Hockey Writers Association votes on regular season awards, and those votes are due before the puck drops on the first game of the playoffs. And then there's a select group that have been covering the final series who are asked to award the MVP of the playoffs to Conn Smythe to somebody throughout all 4 rounds. And some made the argument, of course, you're going to penalize Bobrovsky for a couple of washouts in the series when they were up 3-0. Then what do you say about McDavid for getting this many shots on net over the last 3 games of the series? Or the last 2 games of the series. So you can make those statistical arguments either way. To me, it's who was the most impactful player for his team throughout the playoffs. It was McDavid. Could you picture another good centerman being at the peak of the Oilers and them doing anything like what they did? No. Could you picture one of the other elite goalies in the NHL being in the Florida net and them doing what they did? Yes. So as much as Bob is deserving, and I really think he's terrific, and I love his attitude, I love the way he presents himself. It's just, and I'm always thrilled for any of these Russian guys who are living the life they're living, knowing that they don't even get that flag next to their name if they're playing golf or tennis or whatever, because of what's going on in the world and what their government is doing. And yet this is an opportunity for them to experience joy as a team and as part of a team. And so I'm all positive about that. No bias there whatsoever. Good for Bob. Good for Tarasenko. That said, Kulikov. That said, this is McDavid's playoffs. Mm-hmm. He just didn't win. That's all.
Again, speaking with great NHL insider Mick Colagio, I wanted to get your thoughts, especially early thoughts when Paul Maurice was, and remember, coaching the Hartford Whalers and the Carolina Hurricanes. He went through some ups and downs, probably a little more downs than ups until they finally won the division back in whenever it was. I think whenever it was 99, before they lost to the Bruins, I think in 6, whatever it was. But just your early thoughts, early impressions about Paul Maurice back then when he was with the Whalers and Carolina Hurricanes.
I liked him. He's the last coach ever of the Hartford Whalers, and and I was going to a lot of Whaler games at the time. It was an easy jaunt for me down in southern Rhode Island, Pete.
Yes,
just about $1.20. I think I made it to the to Route 91 across the across the river from to the exit for by like an hour and 15 minutes once. I'm thinking like, ooh, this can't be good. But I used to love going to the Hartford Civic Center, and now known as the XL. And Paul Maurice was engaging and interesting at the time, and he still is, albeit with 3 more decades of experience and all of the knowledge that comes from that. He took the podium in Florida, before game 1 or 2, and asked for commentary. And the first thing he did was congratulate his son and say that I don't care what level you're coaching. To win championships like that guy's been reeling them off is just something else, and he had to tip his cap to him. So good for him for doing that. He also, he just seems to me like he has a lot of sensibilities in the moment that are hard to find among coaches when they're so engrossed in their craft and in the game, and what locks them up in a room for 14 hours on a game day. It's just just really a fun guy to listen to. I've always enjoyed listening to his commentary during different series, including ones that I was covering, like the 2009 Bruins Carolina second round series that ended Game 7 overtime for the Canes. He has an interesting. He is now. I think one thing with him is it's probably hard for him to look at Peter Laviolette's career and see that Peter won the Stanley Cup early on in his NHL coaching career with the Carolina Hurricanes. Well, he, as we all know, Paul Maurice got fired during the season before the big lockout, and Laviolette took over. So what happens during the 2008-09 season when the Carolina's struggling and the ownership's getting impatient, GM's getting impatient, they can Lavi and they bring back Maurice. So they have like this hopscotch sort of a history with each other. But Paul Maurice, you say how far you go. If you don't win the cup now, that's going to be, the devastation is going to be incredible. And I'm happy for him that it pulled it off. And I got to give him credit. It really reminded me of the 23 series against the Bruins when, you got these chances and Marchand breakaway in the final seconds. And they asked him after that one, did you think that everything might go out, the lights might go out right now? And he said, no. He said, because I felt like we had done so many good things in that game that it just couldn't happen. It could not happen. That puck was not going in the net. And just because there's no way, after all the good things we did in that game, that it could possibly. You accumulate experience and get gut feelings about hockey teams and about seasons. And as close as it was, sometimes it's easy to look at it and say, wow, they could have lost 17 times along the way here. This could have happened. That could have happened. Yeah, but at the same time, you also know the right team won. That's the funny thing about hockey. You see a team come together. It has honest, valid architecture in its group with their, 1-2 punch at center. And that they check off all the boxes. But then you get into the personal stages of viewing them and get the up close look at the drama and the effort and everything, and you see why it takes a team to get to where it's going to go, and how there's a lot of it looks like rock climbing at a certain point. You're hanging by a fingernail, and you're trying to get your toe to get a certain grip on a rock below, a little piece of ledge that'll get you to that next rung. And that's what it's like watching the 11 Bruins. That's what I'm sure the Kings fans felt when they were watching their team win it in 12 and 14. And that's certainly what it was like watching the Panthers make this climb. So I'm glad they made it. I really kind of identified with it, having been through the Claude Julien, Peter Chiarelli era of the Bruins, and seeing the way they played and the way they. And Sean Thornton, by the way, former Bruin, was on the ice after, because he.
What's funny, Mick? I talked to Sean earlier this year. I was at a game early this year, courtesy of the Everblades, with Chris Palin and Rick Horrow and others. And Sean was walking by, and I kept saying to the guys, I hope Sean walks by. We're up on a luxury suite. So he came in, stayed with us for about 15 minutes, and we talked about old times and with the Bruins and everything else. And I was so happy. I was so happy for him. How much does a guy like that have an influence on the organization, you think, Mick?
Well, that's the thing. I think that you have people that you bring in and you say, okay, the Bruins go ahead and they go get, they had Nick Foligno. Nick Foligno, they knew they weren't going to be able to pay Nick Foligno much. And Nick Foligno got a nice sweetheart deal from the Blackhawks who saw the value there. So the Bruins bring in Milan Lucic. That obviously went sideways. What did they do? They went and they got the big rig there. So and there's a chance he'll come back, but we'll see. But the bottom line is when your team in the early stages of building your young core into a cup contender, and you have great regular seasons, but you're not having playoff success, you go for symbolic types, people that are going to influence your younger players. Florida doesn't need that now. They needed it when Sean Thornton was there. He was a guy that was attractive to them at the time. Well, there also comes a time when your hockey team eclipses that player, and the players had his effect, and you thank him very much, and then you say, okay, we don't have a uniform for you anymore, but we really appreciate what you did. And that's Sean Thornton for the Florida Panthers. That's what happens to guys like him who are willing to lend their expertise and their wisdom and their toughness to show the way for the young players. And at the end of the day, hey, guys like Cousins and Lomborg even had a hard time getting in the lineup. Lomborg made it at the end. Cousins had to put on the gear to come out and celebrate. But it was nice that they're all one big family in the end, because it takes a village. It takes all these guys. Just like, when the Bruins had Sturm and had Mark Savard, all those characters along the way, helped get them where they finally got with the 20 that got there.
Mick, great stuff as always. Have fun covering the Boston College, Boston University / Minnesota Invitational, known as the NHL Draft. That should be a lot of fun. Make sure you take some pictures, my friend, and we'll look forward.
And the Bruins now have a pick.
Yes. Oh yeah, I didn't even get to Lena Solomon, but we're going to have to cut it a little bit short because Jake Maurice is going to join us as well, and I will pass along your happy thoughts to him as well. So let's talk next week. Text me, let me know what days.
That's great.
I want to hear about the experience and your sphere pictures and all, and everything that happened in the draft. So that would be great.
All right, take care, Pete.
All right, thanks a lot. Mick Colaggio, one of the best from BostonHockeyNow.com, The Hockey News, a whole bunch of podcasts, and RinkWrapMC.com. Quick break. Jake Maurice is going to join us next here on the Pete Sheppard Show in hour number 3, right here on the Riptide Media Network.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you going to do? You're going to go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick, and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Pete Sheppard Show on the Riptide Media Network.
Welcome back to hour number 3, The Pete Sheppard Show here on the Riptide Media Network. Thanks, everybody, for checking us out, especially on the video platform. Follow me at PShep326 at Twitter or X, my Facebook and Broad Street South Facebook pages, YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn, Twitch, Rumble, Sports Radio 102.9, exec producer, host extraordinaire, Angel Martinez with me as well as I do the show from the Isola della Cucina. And right now, Jake, right now. Jake Maurice texted me, when do you want me to join the podcast? And I said, yeah, right now. It's fine. I think I told him technically 9:05, but he should be coming on. The son of Paul Maurice, and Jake does a great job. He's been here a couple of years with the Florida Everblades, broadcasting their game. So he got 2/3 of the back-to-back-to-back as the Everblades, so one. But interesting. We're going to talk about the Everblades. There's some news to talk about there, but also his experience. I'm sure he was at, I guarantee you, he was at Sunrise the other night. And there he is, Jake Maurice, looking happy and handsome. Jake, thanks so much for joining me here on my show. And appreciate you. I loved your text the other day when you said you had just gotten up at like 10:01. I should have known better. Before we get to everything with the Everblades, what a great job you've done the last couple of years, play-by-play. But what was it like for you at Sunrise the other night and, with your dad afterwards? I can't even imagine what you were going through, particularly after you mentioned you and the Everblades after game, congratulating you and the Everblades for winning the, back-to-back-to-back, and you and how you had more rings than him at the time.
Yeah, so it was the most fun experience I've ever had. I mean, Game 7 itself, the crowd was amazing all throughout the game, right? The Florida and the Edmonton fans. For a while, it was almost like a war where they were trying to get their own chance going against one another when it was 1-1 in the first period. Rhino scores that awesome goal in the second, and then just holding on from there with a great defensive performance and counting down the clock until everyone was celebrating. It was just amazing. And yeah, that celebration went pretty late to the night. So yeah, I slept right through your whole show yesterday. So,
yeah, that's all right. It's understandable. What was it? Where were you watching the game for? You were in a box upstairs, and afterwards, did you get to go in the locker room but get on the ISO with your dad or whatever? I was trying to watch for you. I couldn't. There's so much going on and chaos that.
We're in the stands. We're in section 104 right at the top. Okay. And 104, that puts us in where the Panthers defend twice, right along the goal line, honestly. So it was the perfect vantage point for watching the celebration. When Bobrovsky and everyone else takes their gear off right there. We're right there staring directly at it. We could see the bench where Dad and all his coaches were going crazy as well. And then, going on the ice, going down to the room, hanging out with Dad and all my other family was just amazing.
Well, like I text you, I was so proud of your dad and the Panthers. And I remember, coming from New England, I remember your dad with you weren't even born yet, obviously, but, with the Hartford Whalers / Carolina Panthers. And he always, and we just had Mick Colagio on, who's a great NHL insider. And we were both sharing stories about win or lose or draw back in the day, it didn't matter. There's something about your dad that was he had a charisma and was hang on, what was that? Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm getting peanut gallery. Oh no, I want to make sure we can hear Jay. Okay, no, everything's fine. But your dad was always an intriguing personality to listen to. Always thoughtful, funny as hell, and witty. Is he like that around the house with you? Was it like that when you growing
he's
up?
always been this guy. I mean, I know a lot of people are talking about online, like, this is the first I've really heard of this. This is awesome. He's great. I've known this my entire life. He's always had that kind of gripping personality. Usually when he's at home, he likes to just be with us, so we get to kind of share it just amongst ourselves. But of course, when he gets in front of the mic, he knows how to handle it, and that is an important part of being a coach, right? You need to know how to talk after losses, after being in the toughest situation, which Florida was, right? We blew a 3-0 lead, and there was a chance that it could have been arguably the worst collapse in North American sports, right? That's what people were saying. That's what the legacy could have very well been had Edmonton won that game. And I mean, Edmonton's a really good team, right? So it wasn't a surprise that they made it into a series, certainly more of a series than we would have liked, but he responded well in that situation in the room with his coaches, with his players, and with the media, right? No meltdowns, no looking defeated. He knew how to go about that situation, and that's just his personality. Is he can mix in all the funny stuff, all the having fun with the serious needing to get down to work when it matters most.
I just think having witnessed the Red Sox personally come back from a 3-game deficit on the Yankees in the 04 ALCS, after they did that, anything was possible. But I got to be on the field at St. Louis and I know what kind of special, because I called my dad right away. He's no longer with me, but that was like one of the greatest moments of my life.
Yeah,
in St. Louis when they won. But what was it like for you as a son of a hockey coach growing up? And I had to move around a couple of times here and there. Was that tough on you?
You get used to it. I mean, it is always tough, right? When you have to say goodbye to your friends, go make new friends in a new area, right? It's part of the job I signed up for as well as a broadcaster. So it's something that I've just come to accept as a part of the field that I want to work in, a part of life as well, right? People come and go. Of course, I'm still really good friends with some guys in Winnipeg and some other places, but I don't see them nearly as much as I do or as I used to. But I knew from Dad's perspective, it was just part of the role as well. And I knew that he was making a whole lot more sacrifices than I was to do that job, right? The days where you're working 16 hours. I mean, on Friday, Saturday, I didn't even, like the days before the Game 7, I didn't see him at all because he's working all day, right? You're looking for every little bit of stuff you can get to be ready for Game 7 so that you can get your guys ready. And even during the regular season, he works really long hours. He grinds every single day, right? And it's a very demanding job. You're on the road a lot. You miss a lot of stuff at home that normal fathers would be there for. But when he was home, he was always very generous with his time with us and all about us at home. So I knew what he was doing was important. It was what he loved to do. And I've always been very happy that he's been able to, for the most part, go about his career his way and finally getting the big reward for it too.
Yeah, and to me, and I think to many others, he just seemed like your dad, the perfect coach for this team, this group of guys. I mean, the chemistry, like we talked about, and there's a brotherhood there. You can feel it. It really resonates when you watch this team on TV.
Yeah, it's similar. It's honestly kind of similar to the Blades in that the group sets a standard for each other. And then once you fit into that standard, you become close with your teammates like you don't become close with them in other places. Not to say other teams don't have great cultures, right? Like we all know about the Boston Bruins and how they're good every year because of their culture, right? Other teams like the New York Rangers, Edmonton Oilers, they've been building something good. But Florida does definitely, the Panthers and the Blades. But focusing on the Panthers, they do have something special where it's, you go in with these guys who all want to play the game a certain way, who know how to get each other to play that way, even on a night where maybe they're not feeling great. And yeah, they all love each other in the locker room, which is pretty important, right? You don't want to go to work with people you don't like.
No question about it. We'll get to the Everblades in a second, but I wanted to get your thoughts. And I mean, I'm 57 years old. When I moved down here to Southwest Florida from Boston 7 years ago, I mean, I knew Tampa Bay Lightning fans had their fan base. I actually knew Florida Panther fans on the whole were pretty passionate as well, whether it be a lot of transplanters. But I think the game really caught on down in South Florida. And whether we're in Florida and Tampa Bay or, Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers, Giants type of thing, I don't know if we're there or that. But all I know is hockey in South Florida, and particularly in Southwest Florida, is blossoming. I know the youth hockey programs over in Estero at Hertz Arena. And even around all of Southwest Florida. I know there's not a lot of hockey rinks per se in Florida, but I was stunned at the knowledge, not just attending a lot of Everblades, and I was stunned at the knowledge of not just transplanters that are down here, but Floridians that have been down here that understand hockey, appreciate hockey, love hockey. I mean, it's crazy what goes on at Everblades game, and that's ECHL, and down here it's huge because you guys do such a great job. But when you first got down here, were you surprised at the knowledge and the enthusiasm of the people of Southwest Florida regarding the great game of hockey?
A little bit. I mean, I knew there were going to be a lot of transplants, so I knew there would be those people who'd know. And I figured, they're not going to be just completely ignorant on the sport, right? Like, I knew coming in that the Blades were one of the best organizations in the ECHL and that their fan base was passionate, always showing up. But certainly, the fans here in Southwest Florida and around, they really love their hockey, and they love getting to learn more about it too, right? When they show up to the game, they're not just going to watch and they're like, oh, I hope there's a fight and 20 goals aside. Yeah. They want to see a game. When they have something happens, they want to learn about it if they don't know about it. Quick question. Just reading your gas pump guy question.
Yeah, you read it better than me. Even my glasses on, I can't even see it. Go ahead, read it.
Do I get to spend a day with the cup like in the NHL? I'm guessing you mean the Kelly Cup, right?
Yes.
So, well, first off, for the Stanley Cup, yes, my dad will get a day to whatever with the cup. Everyone will get that in the NHL. In the ECHL, technically no, but actually we keep the Kelly Cup at the rink. It hangs around with us during the summer. It might go out to some of the players, but they've already had a big party with it. But yeah, so it'll be around in the summer. So I might not get like a day with it with my family, but it'll be around in the office a whole lot. So I'll get to hang out with it there. And last year, I actually did bring it over to my parents because I needed to go see my parents for something, and I needed to take the cup. I needed to go right from there to a fan appearance with the cup. Mm-hmm. So my boss just said, yeah, just take the cup with you when you go to your parents. So I did kind of last year. I kind of did have a little bit, like not a day, like a couple hours with it, where my dad was just happened to be home at the time, which was great. Mom was there too, and you show him the cup. And by that time also it had our guys' names on it too from that year.
Yeah.
Because usually that'll happen around August is we'll send the cup away. Names will get put on it, and then it'll get sent back to us. And we'll keep the Kelly Cup until around what's the All-Star break in the ECHL. It's not actually an All-Star game this year, but we keep the cup until then, and then the league will take it on a tour of a bunch of the other places. They'll bring it up to Kalamazoo because there's a hockey history event up there this year in lieu of the All-Star game. So they'll take the Kelly Cup up there for the fans there, and then I don't know. I guess we'll see it again in June next year, probably.
Well, I saw earlier this morning on ESPN, and I think it was on South Beach. It was either Kachuk or somebody ran into the ocean with the cup and used it as a floaty.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. Those videos. They took it right to the elbow room. As I told you, I got a little bit of sleep after Monday night. I don't know if those guys slept at all. They might have hopped right on the golf cart and got over to the ocean. Yeah, like they're having a ton of fun, right? I mean, I think there were only two players on the Panthers that won a Stanley Cup or Verhaeghe with Tampa got one, and with St. Louis, Tarasenko got one. And Tarasenko talked to my dad, and he told him, like, you think it's great tonight, just wait. It just keeps getting better and better as the summer goes along. So I don't know how it can get much better than this, and I certainly don't know how for the players it can get much better going to the ocean and partying for the cup for most of them that they won for the first time in their careers. But it's been pretty awesome seeing those videos of the guys celebrating.
Are you headed Friday for the parade? You're going to be on
Sunday? Oh yeah.
Or Sunday? I mean Sunday. Yes.
Yeah. So I'll answer. Thank you, Gas Pump Guy. Yeah. So I'll head over on Friday because that's when my brother, he is at law school in Miami and he's working his summer law job right now. So he'll come over Friday in the evening. So I'll go over then as well. So that we're hanging out. My sister will fly back in from Winnipeg for the parade, and we'll all go Sunday, and that'll be a ton of fun. I don't know anything about it other than that it's Sunday at 11. I don't know what we're doing, where we're going, but I just know that we'll be there.
Do you know where is it going to start at sunrise and head? Or is it strictly going to be in South Beach? I haven't seen the parade route yet. I wasn't sure if it was because with Sunrise it's not a huge drive to Miami or South Beach, but it's not like it's right down the street.
Yeah, like I know I've heard different things. I'm looking it up right now. I'm on my computer.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so it looks like it's going along a state road. Oh, it looks like it's going to be along A1A along the beach.
Oh boy, that's great. Well, slow traffic there anyway, so you only go 5 miles an hour.
That'll be a pretty good view. I know. Remember the Lightning? They did the boat parade.
Yeah.
Back in 2020, I know that was COVID, right? Everyone was distant, so the boat parade kind of made sense. But no, that'll be still pretty fun having it right along the ocean. I guess they don't need to take the cup very far away from the elbow room, so that'll work well. But that's a really good spot for it.
That's awesome. Again, speaking with Jake Maurice, the play-by-play broadcaster and communications coordinator. We talk every week texting-wise because he's the one that sets up all the guests that I have.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird being on your show for the first time instead of just sending you a text and saying, "Okay, Brad Ralph will be here tomorrow for you."
Yeah, exactly. And there are other times you just say, "Hey, you want me to come on?" I mean, certainly always welcome you. You're as close to the team as anybody. Does exec producer, host extraordinary Angel Martinez? I see you alert. Do you have something for Jake?
I think Jake, first of all, thanks for coming on. And I know you've been probably in party mode, and as you should be, not only for the Everblades, but also for the Panthers. But it's rare that you get to hear Harry Callis and his son King Callis are the two that remind me of almost the same identical voices and the same demeanor. And it's funny to see you, Jake. It's like you and your dad are a spitting image of each other, how you talk, your demeanors and all. And to me, I think it's gratifying because it's nice to see when you do have a leader. And I know our parents are considered that way, but it's nice to see that you guys are just mirror of each other. So I want to know, being down with the ECHL and being with the Everblades, I know it's tough because it's a grinding schedule throughout the season. I know for a lot of folks who don't work in media, have no idea when it's time off for you, even though you've been in party mode for the last 2 days. It's hard to then get out of a certain regiment where, okay, I'm up at this time. Here's what I'm doing. Here's the prep sheet and everything else. The time off that you have, and well-deserved, by the way, after, 3-time champs there. What do you do other than still working, but not as much to that capacity? What do you do on your time off?
Yeah, it's really weird right now. I mean, there's not going to be any more hockey until October, right? So it's going to be a long wait. I mean, I stay in contact, obviously, first off, most of our players, I would say, are gone by now. A couple of them do live down here, but most of the Blades players, they've gone back home to Michigan, Canada, Massachusetts, wherever they're from. A couple of guys have already made decisions that they're not coming back, right? I know Cole Moberg and Will Riley, they both signed overseas, so they're gone. We made the transaction that sent a couple of players away. We did bring in one defenseman from the Indy Fuel. So this is where they're making the early decisions on the roster. So right now, Coach Ralph, assistant coach Anthony Peters, they're talking with our players after going through the list of our roster, right? They're going to our players, the ones we want to see come back, and we're asking them about their interest for coming back next year. So I'm thinking that probably like July 1st, by this time next week, we'll have maybe a signing or two to talk about on your show. There will be a couple of guys who've gotten locked in coming back. Of course, always scouting out other teams, looking for kids coming out of college, right? Who's going to be able to join as free agents. I think right now, I can't name any names, but I would expect that there will probably be about 4 signings in the earlier parts of July, like 4 guys that have made it pretty clear they're interested in coming back to the team. And I mean, we saw what guys like Joe Pendenz and Oliver Chow were able to do for the Blades in the playoffs this year, right? Cam Johnson, you need a good core of returning guys to maintain the culture. It can't be all new players coming in for the Everblades next season. And then, apart from that, there's really not much going on for me in the summer. I mean, actually, so right now is the league meetings in the ECHL in Vegas. I didn't go because the day all my coworkers were flying out was Game 7 of the finals, and I was not going to watch Game 7 on the plane.
No, absolutely not. But the draft is coming out there as well. Is your dad? Your dad's not going out there for that. Does he have to go out to Vegas for that?
Well, there will be a debate on that. I mean, the Panthers don't have a pick until the 3rd round.
That's true. That's right.
All they're going to be doing on Friday is listening and seeing how many teams give them the congratulations up on the podium before making their draft picks, right? So. And the Panthers are not in a position, they're not going to be looking to trade for 1st-round picks or anything, right? They're still a very good team. They're going to try and run it back just like the Everblades, right? So it's going to be more about players that are ready now, not 1st-round picks where they're not going to be ready. Outside of like Macklin Celebrini and maybe a couple of the other top 5, none of these guys are going to be in the NHL next year, right? So
yeah,
there's no point in getting any of these first-round picks for the Panthers. And I don't know if he has to go yet. It's been a little bit back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I know Bill Zito obviously is going. All the scouts, the assistant general managers, they're all going. But for the most part, I imagine it might be a bit of a celebration rather than strictly a regular draft. But of course, Saturday rounds 2 through 7, that'll be all business.
Yeah, and let's get into the Everblades a little bit. Craig Brush, obviously the president and Hertz Arena CEO. An interesting announcement. I think this is the third, since I've been there 7 years, this is the third time there's going to be an affiliation change for the Everblades. Obviously, it was with the Florida Panthers and the Checkers in Carolina. I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not a big hockey guy, but I don't know the ins and outs of how it works with ECHL teams, with AHL and the NHL.
Jake went away. He'll come back.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. He just
okay.
off the screen for a second.
All right.
So
yes, he did. Yep.
Here he is.
There he is. He's back.
Yeah. Sorry.
So Jay, I was saying, I'm a big hockey guy, but I don't know the ins and outs of how affiliations get, how it comes about between ECHL, AHL, and NHL. I know that Brush has put out the statement about them not being affiliated with the Checkers or the Florida Panthers anymore. I don't know how all that works. Since I've been down here, I think this is the third affiliation the Everblades have had. I think Florida, I think Tampa, and I believe Carolina before that. But do you know, how does all that work, the ins and outs of that? How does that all, it's all of a sudden Florida wins the cup or about to win the cup, and then they say they're not going to be affiliated with the Everblades anymore. I don't get how that all works.
Yeah, well, so when we sign on with different affiliates, we sign on for different contract lengths. So our contract goes up for renewal, and it was actually, wasn't a Panthers decision at all.
Oh, we lost Jake again.
Yep, he'll come back.
We lost Jake again. Yep.
Hopefully
he will come back.
Pop in and out.
Somebody doesn't want him to talk about this. No, I'm kidding.
it happens. There he is. Jake's back.
There he is. There's Jake. Yeah, we're getting some bad weather down here, Jake. Are you in Estero right now?
I am in Estero.
Yeah, it sucks. It's black. It is. I'm in Fort Myers, so I'm not too far from you. We're getting some bad weather right now.
Yeah, I'm willing my computer to just get through this. Give me a few more minutes.
Yeah. So we're talking about affiliations and how that works. Yeah.
So what it actually was that the group that owns the Savannah Ghost Pirates bought the Charlotte Checkers.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, we're having some bad weather down here. It's
it happens because it even
dark outside.
Yeah,
it's dark outside, and he's about 10 minutes from me. So that's all right, Jake. Yeah, keep going. We'll get it in.
Yeah. So money talks, and Savannah's group bought Charlotte, so that's going to be the affiliation now. I know things were. From what I've heard, the Checkers are going to have a lot more control. Pretty much over Savannah, whereas they didn't have that with us. So I know the affiliation matters more for Charlotte than it does for the Panthers, but I know things were really good with the Panthers. We really appreciated our time with them, and we're in the process.
Oh, yeah. Right when I think I just saw lightning too. It's blackout here in Southwest Florida right now.
Yeah, it plays a big factor into it. So for those who are listening in on the radio side, the weather does play a factor down here. So we'll get Jake will come back.
Try Jake.
There he is.
Try Jake. All right, Jake. One more, then I won't keep you. Thank you so much for doing this. And by the way, all my friends. They're gone again.
Yeah, unless he wants to do a quick call in, and we can finish up that way.
Yeah, you can call in at 727-858-6650.
Yep.
Finish up that way.
At least that we can get so we can finally, we can find out exactly. If you want to shoot him a text or Pete and let him know to call up the station, therefore at least we can get because I'm pretty sure everybody wants to know at this point new affiliation they're going to end up having.
Well, I don't think that's going to be announced for a bit, but he may have some. That's what my last question was going to be. I wanted to get some insight from him.
That's what I said. Hopefully we can get him on the phone here. You can call into the studio, and we'll put him right on. Therefore, he can let us know as far as the. I know he probably can't announce it for obvious reasons because they want to make the announcement first. But hang on, that's going to be him right here.
Yeah.
All
All right, Jake, let's try it this way. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you perfectly, yeah. And I'll wrap up that last point quickly, just before we finally had to pull the plug on the computer. So in the next couple of weeks, player signings and affiliation, there should be some Everblades news after a little bit of a dry spell following the Kelly Cup win.
Do you have any speculation about what NHL team they'll be affiliated with by chance? Any guesses or, kind of like wink, wink, nod, nod type of thing?
I don't have any speculation about us. I've heard some about other teams, but that's for their groups to announce. So I will leave that for them. What I do know, or at least suspect, is that it won't be long until we have answers, not just for us, because there's a few teams besides us that are looking for new affiliates. So there will be a couple of announcements, some ECHL news. And I mean, if you're following along on the ECHL website or the ECHL app, there have been signings made by other teams. A couple teams like Greenville have made head coaching changes. So still stuff going on around the league. But for our side, I'd imagine we'd be looking more in early July to start the news trickle.
And lastly, with Brad winning back-to-back titles, I asked him this personally last time he was on with us. I don't know if he has any additional coaching aspirations or not. I just wanted to get your thoughts real quickly on, he must get offers and more than nibbles. If he would ever take another job in the AHL or even in the NHL.
I mean, he doesn't talk about that kind of stuff with me, right? That'd be a talk for his wife and the other hockey guys. I mean, he certainly could, right? He's good enough. We don't win 3 championships in a row by not being a good coach, right? You don't come back from down 3-1 against Jacksonville unless you know how to rally a group and find different weaknesses you can exploit in your opponent. And that's exactly what he did to get this team to a 3rd straight Kelly Cup. So, yeah, I think he absolutely could be a head coach in the National Hockey League one day. But, of course, connections are very important in getting there. And sometimes it's just a little bit of luck, right? Like my dad got in very young. He had a connection with Pete Carmanis, who was in Hartford, and that's what got him in. And then he was able to stick. I'm certain Brad would be the same. If he got into the NHL, he wouldn't be a one and done. He'd find a way to stick. Maybe he could be a guy like Chris Knobloch who gets in and just gets going right away, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Brad's an awesome coach, awesome guy to work with. And I imagine he might be coming on your show a couple times this summer. So if there's any news, you can ask him yourself about that.
I hope so. And when all the dust settles from the party and everything else, I want to have your dad on this show also. But I think you gave me the proper information of who I still have to go through. But I was just hoping you'd call him up one day and said, give him this number, just have him call in.
He's been a little busy recently.
Oh, yeah, it does have to be. I said, in a little while after, hey, training camp is right around the corner. That's the thing. When you win a cup in, late June, you don't have a whole lot of time because you're going to start. You're already behind. It's so many teams that win titles, and then they're already behind for the next year. But enjoy this, Jake. So love the conversation today. All the best to you and your dad, your entire family. Have a blast, and I'll be looking forward to watching some of the parade on Sunday.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy that after setting up interviews for you all season long, I can finally come on your show myself. So thank you for having me.
You do a great job. I look forward to you coming back next year, I think, for your 3rd year behind the microphone as the voice of the Everblades.
3rd year behind the mic coming up technically is all hit. My 3rd year will start, I think, in August because that's when I started with the Blades back in 2022. But, of course, season doesn't get going until October. We'll start on the road again and then hoist another. I don't have the exact date with me right now, but I know late October, I want to say the 25th, is when we'll hoist another Kelly Cup banner in the rafters at Hertz Arena.
That's going to be great. Jake Maurice, a play-by-play broadcaster and communications coordinator for the Florida Everblades. All the best, Jake, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much for taking some time.
Thank you, sir.
All righty. What a nice young man he is. Comes from a great family and great hockey knowledge. And guys like Jake, he'll be talking about leaving the ECHL. Eventually, he will be an AHL and then an NHL broadcaster, play-by-play guy. There's no question about it. He is very, very talented. All right, quick break. And Bill Sparrow's coming up next here from the Boston Herald, from Boston Herald columnist and senior betting analyst from bookies.com as we close out the Pete Sheppard Show on a Hump Day Wednesday here on the Riptide Media Network.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Pete Sheppard Show. It's fun for the whole family. If it's dysfunctional.
Ah, yes. Dark skies here in Fort Myers. The rain is lightning. There's thunder. And there's the one and only Bill Sparrows, who represents all of that. We're going to eat lightning. We're going to crap thunder, as Mickey once said to Rocky in Rocky 2. Anyway, good morning, Mr. Sparrows. Thank you for joining me. Final segment of the Pete Sheppard Show here on the Riptide Media Network. And how are you doing today, sir?
Oh, it's a glorious day in Smyrna Beach. Sun is out, and everyone's still happy, as we always are here. It's a fun, loving place.
Did you get invited to the parade last week?
No, I didn't get my deck boat invitation. I was in Charlotte, so I couldn't have made it anyway.
Oh,
So
I thought you and Perk were you got screwed over by the Celtics, as I'm hearing.
I told Brad, I said, I'm not going to be able to make it, Brad, so give my spot to someone else.
So I mean, I don't go out of my way to listen to a lot of gobbledygook that goes on in Boston anymore because it's some of the stuff. But it was entertaining. I did hear just a little bit of Perk on with Maz and Felger the other day. And I don't know what's your whole take on that. Are you buying into the Celtics did not want him there because of the stuff that he has said all year, or because we all know Scalabrine got the full-time job and he's been doing it for a while on the local TV side. And Perk absolutely wanted it. And people thought he had a vendetta, or at least a partial vendetta, including myself, against the Celtics for most of the year because he didn't get the local TV job. What's your thoughts on that whole situation?
Well, I mean, I just know what I see, right? I believe the Missoula line stuck with a lot of people on Causeway Street. I think it was that line, not the criticism of the team, or I mean, we all had our criticisms of the Celtics. I think in the case of Perkins, that one might have crossed the line, and he sort of apologized for it. Again, I don't know who wasn't invited beside him. I mean, Kevin Garnett wasn't there. Ray Allen wasn't there. So if the Celtics purposefully excluded him because of that, I think it's small on their part. I mean, they're in a position right now to be very magnanimous toward everybody, and I can understand, Jason Tatum's Nike campaign and all that. I get that. That's fine. But I think among people that had been in the organization and won a title, and Doc will tell you that starting five never lost a playoff series. I think the Celtics, if indeed they did that, that's kind of Red Soxy and that's kind of petty.
Yeah.
And I hope that's not true. If it is true, it's very petty on their part. But again, I don't necessarily believe it. I just think that it was probably a situation where his name never came up just because it never came up in terms of the parade. I mean, I don't view Scal as a super reliable source. He's entertaining. He's fun to watch. I'm not going to rely on him, to investigate, anything of substance beyond his breakdown at halftime and after the game. But again, if the Celtics did that, and it doesn't seem like it's in their character, I would think, Wick is just, want to love everybody these days, as he should. When you win, it sort of wipes away a lot of sins and a lot of anger and a lot of hate. So hopefully that's not the case. If it is, it's kind of sad. But I could also understand why the Celtics would do that. If Joe Mazzulla thinks that Kendrick Perkins called him a bird brain, and if you want to parse words, he kind of technically didn't, but you're not really in a position to do that. If he feels like that crossed the line, I can understand that.
No, I totally agree with you. And you look at this organization, this team is currently constituted, and everybody's coming back. I know the Derek White thing, that they can, keep him long term. We know that Jason Tatum's going to sign the 5-year, $315 million extension. There's no question about that. And you keep Derek White, you get him, and even though he's still under contract, maybe somehow you get him long term here. I mean, this team is going to be a contender for quite a number of years here with this nucleus that Brad Stevens has assembled.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, I think there were a couple of huge problems they had heading into the season. To me, the biggest issue coming into this season was their inability to dominate at home, especially in the playoffs. They fixed that. Obviously, they won the title at home. That wipes that narrative off the books. The other narrative was they didn't have the grit and balls to close out. They did that. And there was a belief held by myself and others that they, were unwilling to sort of step on the throat of their so-called friends, their pals, Steph Curry, Kyrie, etc. And they did that. So now this team, maybe it always had confidence. You sort of have to have confidence at that level. But now that they have a track record to back up that confidence, I think they're gonna elevate hopefully elevate their their edge, their hardness, their toughness to another level. And I think if this team starts playing tough and starts playing with an attitude, and I think we saw that this year in the playoffs, they're going to be tough to beat, especially if they stay healthy. And teams are going to start to, dare say, fear this team now, because of what they did in the postseason and how they did it. And next year, the regular season all of a sudden means something now. It hadn't meant anything for the Bruins or the Celtics for years. Now the regular season means something. The Celtics could say, look what we did. We dominated the regular season. We locked up home court with like 2 weeks to play, and then we coasted. And, that's the strategy. A lot of people didn't think you could do that. They proved that you can coast to a championship in a sense, not to denigrate what they achieved, but to sort of complement their dominance. And so that's going to be their MO moving forward because they've proven that it can work. So next year, if they have a great regular season, we'll be able to enjoy it. And we'll be able to say, see, this is what they did last year. And they had home court and they took advantage of home court and they won these, games 1 and 2. And they closed out the Mavs coming back in game 5. So I think that's what the development of this team, especially if you see the core stay together.
No question about it. And there's also the patience of the organization. And people, we were talking about this for months. And then, nobody criticized the Denver Nuggets for the path they took last year when they won it. They had worse schedules of teams to play and they got there. And it took them 6-7 years to get to where they are as well. They didn't have the success that Celtics had as far as getting closer to the finals, playing in a final and playing in a bunch of Eastern Conference finals. But nevertheless, as an organization, they stuck to their guns and didn't go crazy like the Lakers do and just fire coaches every year and whatever. And now what the Knicks have done last night, I got to tell you, you look at this, I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it. The Villanova Knicks strike back with Mikal Bridges, now with Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson. But Bill, they just gave up 5 of your own first-round picks in a 7-year span. This better work out. Or you know what the Knicks are going to be? The mid to late 80s or Washington Bullets. You are in purgatory forever because there's no salary cap relief there. They are screwed if this deal doesn't work out.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what you have to do in the NBA, isn't it? And you have to swing for the fence, right? The Celtics did it. They did it with Kyrie and Gordon Hayward. Didn't work, but they tried.
Mm-hmm.
They did it with Porzingis and Drew Holiday, and it worked. So, that's been one of my, takeaways with Stevens and Danny Ainge too. Danny did it like 3 times.
Sure.
So you have to swing for the fences in the NBA. You have to trade Pierce and Garnett and load up on picks and all that. You got to kind of do that every 3 or 4 years if you don't win. That's just the way the league is structured. And if you don't have an owner like Wick, who's willing to blow through an extra $300 million, thanks, Dad. If you don't have an owner, James Dolan. That guy's doing facial recognition on people walking in the door. So if you don't have an owner like Wick, who's willing to say screw it, I want to get paid in parades, you're going to have to blow it up every 3 or 4 years. And the Knicks sort of blew it up. So they're going all in, and if it doesn't work, they're going to reset like everybody else.
Bill Sparrow's joining us. He's senior betting analyst for Bookies.com, a great columnist for the Boston Herald. And speaking of Bookies.com, and somebody asked you an interesting question about a little while, right before you came on the show, said, I heard Bally Bet was supposed to be going live tomorrow in Massachusetts. Have you heard anything? And your response to that?
Well, yeah, they have actually, I'm going to double check. They're setting the agenda for the way it works in Massachusetts. There's sort of 3 stages. You have to have your license approved, which they did in March. Actually, Bally's was licensed last year. They've been licensed for over a year. They just haven't launched in Mass yet. they had a lot of internal problems, obviously big picture wise, but internally in terms of like their technology, they had some technical issues, some third party provider issues that they were working through. So they sort of got through all that. Um, they've maintained, since day one that they wanted to be in Mass. And again, they paid $1 million last year for a license they never used.
Wow. Yeah.
And they re-upped this year. So this has sort of always been the plan. And the plan was to go in late June, which is really a terrible time to launch because there's like nothing going on. But I don't really think that they're too concerned about that. This is more of a kind of stepping stone to sort of leverage perhaps a push for online casino in Rhode Island, as much as it is to crack the Massachusetts betting market where two operators control like 80% of it or 70% of it. So that's sort of the plan. Yeah. So you need your license, which they got. You need your house rules approved, which happened last week, and then you need what's called the certificate of operation, which is kind of the signing off on everything. They're supposed to get that approved tomorrow morning. That meeting hasn't been noticed yet, but it is on the agenda planning committee agenda. So if everything goes to plan, they'll get their certificate of operations tomorrow and launch sometime tomorrow, maybe Friday, but they're pointing toward tomorrow. I mean, I've been banging their door and their email and their phone. Haven't gotten back to me yet because I don't think they have a specific launch time set. But it's going to happen, either tomorrow or very soon thereafter. You'll be able to bet, certainly if you're in southeastern Mass and you've been, going into Rhode Island or we're in Rhode Island before. This is not going to be like Rhode Island where you have the sort of official state sports book. This will be a separate Bally product like they have in other states. So it'll be different than what they have in Rhode Island because that's, kind of like the lottery deal, where this will be just like DraftKings and FanDuel and everybody else, where it'll be a Bally's branded, Bally's operated book.
I love the response. I had the same sort of response. We were talking about Texas A&M baseball coach Jim Schlossnagle, who berated that reporter and all that bullshit, and then and then left 19 hours later. And I love how you said these same college expletives will pontificate about gambling as if they were sisters of St. Mary. Like I said,
Yep.
Look, I played golf when I was 19 years old. Right after Providence College, came back for the Final Four. Rick Pitino and I played golf together with another friend of mine. It was just happened to be we were playing late on a Sunday afternoon, and just happened to be going out at the same time. He sat there for 4 hours, Bill, and told me how he would never leave Providence. And ever since then, of course, he was gone 72 hours later. I just don't ever believe any coaches anymore in any sport. But the way this guy handled this person, and then didn't have the balls. He just released a statement when he said he was going to Texas. Didn't have the balls to face the media again and tried to, because he would have got. And I'm hoping somebody at Texas, when he has his first press conference, calls him out on what he did and what he said and how he berated that reporter. Just ridiculous.
Yeah, hypocrisy has been a part of college sports for as long as gambling has. I was actually in Charlotte last week for the Associated Press Sports Editors Conference. I've been in the organization forever. And the commissioner of the ACC spoke to us on the record, and I actually asked him about the
Jim
college
Phillips.
prop bets.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim Phillips. Pretty good guy, straight shooter.
Yep.
Gave me a great answer. I wrote about it. He's obviously in line with Charlie Baker in terms of wanting a ban on that. But he was very open, with the whole issue of gambling, and he wasn't Pollyannish about it in terms of he accepts that it's there. He's not trying to change the tides, but at the same time, as a college commissioner, he believes, rightly or wrongly, that there's a real threat in a lot of ways to athletes because of player props. I can see that argument because in college, the athletes are sort of intermingled in the public on campus, as opposed to the pros who can pretty much be segregated away from the world. You don't have that option in college. Part of the experience is to be around everybody else. So I can see that argument. I think perhaps the books, if they were smart, they might go along with with that on their own without being prodded by regulators. If it were to curry favor for them in other issues, namely, states finally going after offshore books. It's taken forever for that to happen. Unfortunately, I won't name names, but you have regulators in places like Massachusetts who think that there was never gambling before March of 2023, and that all legalized gambling is evil, and that it should be regulated worse than cigarettes. But they don't understand. Every time you pass a regulation, an offshore booker, a local bookie, gets his wings.
But how come they never have that philosophy when it comes? We know Massachusetts, I think, still right has the #1 lottery sales in the country.
Well, there you go.
That and Keno, and then those hypocrites never want to address that.
Well, I mean, when I talk about gambling and I talk about the lottery, people are surprised. I mean, I've had people on the air say, "Well, what do you mean the lottery? Lottery's gambling."
It's huge.
Because it's been around, like in Mass, we know it's been around for 50 odd years. And it's a huge cash cow for the state. But of course, you have to understand too, Pete, the lottery is run by the Treasury Department.
Of course.
And the sports betting is run by the Gaming Commission.
Yes.
So you got
boom,
Anchorman like bureaucratic fights going on in Beacon Hill because they all want their own turf,
Yes, absolutely.
And the lottery is I won't use the term my old man used to use, but is doing a #2 formed like a brick over the potential of sports betting and iGaming.
I'm uncomfortable.
So there's a real issue there about power in turf and revenue, because if and when I don't think it's going to happen in Mass, frankly, even with the state's financial woes. If you launched iGaming, your lottery's going under in about 5 years. So, they're going to launch, they're going to approve online lottery in Massachusetts this year. Keep an eye out on that.
Wow.
With the state budget, goes to conference and gets approved, at 4 a.m. on August 1st, like they did with sports betting. Because there's a proposal in the state House budget for online lottery. And that's why the state Senate,
it's unbelievable.
One Senator Kearney there, I think it was Kearney or Kennedy. I think he's Irish.
Yeah.
So he wanted to raise the sports betting tax to 40% to sort of blunt the push for a online lottery. But the House Speaker, Mariano, wants the online lottery because the Treasury Department wants the online lottery because they want to be on an even playing field with sports betting. So keep an eye out for that.
And let me ask you, Bill, how now that would, because when you go into a convenience store and you want to buy lottery tickets, you can't use a credit card, correct? You have to use cash. This, obviously, you'd be able to use a credit card for an online lottery.
There are some. There's, I think, two companies. Well, DraftKings. See, that's another reason why DraftKings bought, I think it's lotto.com. I think it was the outfit they bought. DraftKings just bought the online lottery company because a lot of states are moving toward that. A lot of states are legalizing online lottery that have online sports betting. So I think it's lotto.com. I'm not sure. Lottery.com. DraftKings bought them a few months ago, because that space is going to grow. That's before you get online casino, you're going to get online lottery. And all the states that have lotteries, if they don't have online lottery, they're going to get online lottery.
But the deposits have to come through. You have to give me you have to come through your bank then, right? If they're not going to use credit cards, then you give them your router number and your
well, it would be the same. It would be, but it's, I mean, now the technology, like when you fund, like when I fund my Hard Rock account, the money comes straight out of my bank in about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So I would assume the law would prohibit credit cards being used for any iLottery in Massachusetts. I haven't read the proposed statute. I just know that it was in the House budget. But my assumption is, given that the state law and Massachusetts prohibits sports betting through credit cards, and you can't buy retail lottery tickets with credit cards, I would assume the iLottery bill would also prohibit the use of credit cards, but I don't know that for sure.
All right, Bill. Angel, I see. Angel, do you have a question for Bill before we close this out? I wasn't sure if you were. Oh, no, you don't. You don't have. If you don't, you don't. I just.
Problem is, if I do it off screen, then no one would hear exactly what's going on.
Yes.
Bill, first of all, sporting the fan here, of course, the NBA champs, your Boston Celtics, and beats Boston Celtics as well. Yeah, listen, I'm the same way too, because my team wins a championship, I'm out there buying the gear as well, because you got to represent your team. But you look at Boston this season and what they accomplished. Obviously, Tatum, for an unbelievable season, what he had, the rookie had, the injuries that plagued them off and on throughout the season, and then you guys end up getting Drew Holiday. It was just such an incredible season for Boston, which now everyone will be chasing them come next season. Do you see, and even though we're not even into the summer league talk yet, but could you possibly see the Boston Celtics making a back-to-back run?
Yeah. I think that would hinge on the health of Porzingis in the playoffs. I mean, if they were to have him, they only had him for really a game and a half this year, but he set the tone against Dallas. I mean, if you could have picked, the one game, if they said, "Oh, you only get Porzingis in one playoff game," that first half against Dallas was like, oh my God, that was such a moment. Because there were all those doubts that Pete, I'm sure, has talked about for years, that I've written about, and everybody else has talked about. All those doubts the Celtics had going into the finals, Porzingis helped wipe them off the books in the first half against Dallas in Game 1. So, given Horford's going to be a year older, apparently he's coming back.
Yep.
So, it's wear and tear. It's father time. So, to me, I think having a healthy Porzingis throughout the NBA playoffs, if you told me that's going to be an option, I would say they have a terrific shot of repeating. If they don't have a healthy Porzingis throughout the playoffs, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I just want to get through today. I can't even think about the playoffs already next year. I just want to get through today.
And as I said earlier, we're going to be able to enjoy the regular season next year, right? It'll be fun because I think now
I had fun this year. I don't know how.
I did too. No, I never criticized them for something that hadn't happened yet. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, when you write, you can look. Everything I write's online, so you can go back and look it up. But my point is, fans will see value in it. They will see value in this team if they're able to do what they did this year. They'll see value in home court. They'll see value in the number one seed. There won't be any more of this crap about, maybe they should finish second because then they could play this team as opposed. No. No, you want to go in as the number one seed. You want home court just in case. You want momentum and you want rest. And we saw that this year that meant something. So that'll be something to watch and strive for and enjoy next year if it happens.
All right, Bill, you're the man. Thanks so much. And we'll do this again next week. Great insight, as always, not into just the Boston sports scene, but senior betting analyst at bookies.com. Lots going on always in the world of gambling. So check him out. Also, great columnist for the Boston Herald. So we will talk to you next week, my friend. All the best.
Thank you.
Nice
all right. Well, that's about just that's going to do it. Angel, you're but middays with Q coming up today from noon to 2 p.m. We had an excellent show yesterday with Rich Quinones, right? Am I correct in that assumption?
Yippers. We will have on Jonathan Marshall at about 12:15.
Excellent. And I will be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Big show. Rick Horrow is going to join us at 8:30. That's just one of the guests. And there is a lot to discuss between Carolina and Jacksonville. Just those two stories alone with the stadium renovations coming up in the billions of dollars. We'll get Rick Horrow's thoughts on that and a whole lot more. I have some other fun guests coming up as well tomorrow. Thanks to Angel Martinez for producing this whole thing and co-hosting. Been fantastic. And I am Pete Sheppard. I am back tomorrow at 7 a.m. right here on the Riptide Media Network. Bye.
As Gas Pump Guy says, great show. Awesome guests. Thank you. So, hit us one more time there, Pete, with the bye-bye.
Bye. It's not obnoxious. See.